Welcome to the 441st episode of the Random Podcast from Heck. My name is Tony, and this is the podcast about random things in the world of entertainment, which includes movies, TV shows, and comic books. Big shout out to Andrew Loken. He is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of extra podcast entertainment every single week. I've recently been doing a bunch of like Silver Age, mostly pretty much DC Comics, looking back at these weird and wacky covers, usually where Batman's killing someone, Superman's killing. It's like just weird and wacky. Lois Lane comics, Jimmy Olsen. So we've been looking at those, and sometimes I'll do it off of mind topics. We're due for one soon. I got to think of something for that. So let me know if you have any thoughts. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or two. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. What is going on this week? I hope you are choosing to listen this week because we have the Strangers Chapter 3. I'm a big fan of this franchise. I've been enjoying, and I can't really, I don't understand why people just seem not to like this movie. I like looking at their like Rotten Tomato scores or whatever. It just seems like people don't appreciate it, and I don't know what it is. So, this one, there's definitely a lot to talk about. And I'll say this right now, and I'll probably say it again. What I don't know if I don't want to assume, not give people enough credit or whatever, but I don't think people are taking into consideration that this is essentially like one complete story, and all this is happening within a few days, like 5 days or something like that. And I think the main thing, what I'm appreciating about this in a bad, dark way, is that you just really see like the grief that the character is going through. One, they're being traumatized, being chased, and attacked, but these killers. But the other thing is, Madeline Petch, her character, her fiance was, spoilers for chapter 1, her fiance was killed like right in front of her. Sometimes I think about it, it's like, what would you do? I don't know if people really think about losing someone. We'll talk more about that, because I definitely want to delve into that, because I don't know. We also have more Wonder Man, more Hijack, more Fallout, and some comics. Comics are me a little interesting this week. All right, with news. Speaking of Wonder Man, it's sounding like, and this is great, it's sounding like that it's apparently, supposedly, according to insiders, whatever, it might be close to being like renewed for season 2. That's pretty amazing. That like so quickly, because it feels like these Disney Plus shows, one, hardly, like not many of them get a second season. I mean, Daredevil is. But I don't know what it is. You got like Hawkeye. I mean, Loki got 2 seasons. But like Moon Knight, it's like all these shows. It's like, it felt like Disney's like, here's a character show. All right, what's next? Here's another. It's like they drop one and then they move on, and they're not really committed, or the actors aren't committed. I don't know. It's weird, but I'm enjoying this. I've only watched how many episodes? 2 episodes. We're talking about episode 2 this week. So I know it had high, critic scores based off Rotten Tomatoes, so that this is great. I can't speak on where it might go, because I don't know how the season ends, because I don't have time to binge. So that's good news for Wonder Man. Hopefully you're a fan of that. Disney Plus is also looking to adapt the Aragon books. I'm not familiar with these. And it is Aragon, right? Eragon, Aragon. Based off like the Percy Jackson books, which I feel so bad that I haven't watched a single episode from season 2. And I have some students that like are really into it, are so excited. And that's great. Because there's like just other shows there's a lot of shows recently. we were been talking about here. I was like, I can't take on another show. I don't have the time to do that, and so I haven't been watching it. And I haven't heard anyone say, "Oh man, hey, how come you're not talking about Percy Jackson?" So I would like to watch a second season at some point. I'm not immensely invested in it at all. I'm happy that it exists. I'm happy that they're doing it justice. Because I did watch the first movie and I listened to the audiobook, and those were the first movie wasn't great, and the series seems to be really like spot on, and really putting the time and effort into it. That's cool, but maybe you listeners out there, that's you're not the target audience. I don't know. Are you into Percy Jackson? Or were you a long time ago? And I don't know. So, yeah, Aragon. I don't even know what those are about. Dragons. I don't. That's what's coming to my mind. If I'm trying to think, like, have I seen any of the book covers or anything like that? So I don't know. Clayface. I'm still so kind of baffled that we're getting this Clayface movie. I mean, it'll be interesting, but. It's just, okay, we're starting new DC universe. We've got all these awesome characters to make, movies out of. Okay, we're going to do Superman. We're going to do Supergirl. We're going to do Clayface. It's like, wait, what? Let's do a Clayface movie before Wonder Woman, or Clayface before even like Aquaman. It's like, and I get the reason why. Obviously, if you want to do a Wonder Woman movie, that's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot at stake there, and it's going to be a high production. They've already stated, I don't remember if it was James Gunn or just someone in general, that with Supergirl, they've lowered the budget. They toned some things down or whatever. And the good thing about that is a lower budget means less box office needed to make it a hit, to make it successful. Make it profitable, and that's I can kind of see that that's a good thing, because when you look at some of these movies, like $200 million budget or whatever, and sometimes a movie has like a $50 million. I'm like, what is being used? Why do they need so much money to make this movie? There wasn't a lot of special effects or whatever. It's like, what is going on here? And I don't know if part of it is the actors. Some actors like, I want $10 million or $20 million. And that's a huge part of the budget. I'm assuming. So I don't know. But with something like Clayface, I'm assuming you're going to have some CG necessary to have him move. And I'm no CG expert, but I always supposedly CG stuff is expensive. I don't know. I mean, they always said that's like on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like stabbing the vampires and having them turn into dust. That got to be expensive after a while, so then they would just cut that part out, where you would just see them moving the stake down, and then poof, you didn't actually see the vampire dissolve. They just kind of cut away from that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But why are we talking about Clayface? Is it's been delayed a little bit. Originally, it was supposed to come out September 11, 2026, this year, but now it's being moved to October 23rd. 2026. And if it is going to be like a horror type movie-ish sort of, that could be better. Have it in October. So I'm baffled with it, but of course, obviously, I wish it luck and success, because I want everything to be successful. There was a new trailer, which I really hope this is successful. There's a new trailer for Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, and I did not watch it. And I don't feel I need to watch it, because I am so immensely excited for this movie. I love Samara Weaving. I don't know if I mentioned, I watched that, what was that? Not Peekaboo, Meanie, what was that movie called? Eeny Meeny? So it was a Hulu movie, and it was a decent movie. I liked it. It wasn't, I would have seen it in the theater. Maybe it didn't need to be a theatrical release, but I think she's really cool, and I really enjoyed the first movie. I was like, I feel like it came out of nowhere, and I never thought we would have a sequel, and I'm glad we do. So I do not need to see any more trailer. You tell me, like, as soon as they mention it, I'm sold. I am there. I will definitely watch that. So check out the trailer if you want. I don't want to see too much. I don't need to see anything more. So I'm yeah. But you should, if you're not sure, watch the trailer because you'll probably want to watch it. What about Harley Quinn? I guess season 6. Kaylee Kuko. I think she has a show. Does she have some show or something coming out? So it came up, but what about Harley Quinn? Season 6, and she says it's not officially greenlit. So I saw an article like good news for Harley Quinn. I'm like, oh, there's going to be another season, okay? But good news is it's not officially greenlit. How's that good news? She's feeling positive that there will be another one, so she imagines it would probably be released in like 2027. As you may be aware, I have a interesting whatever. I don't know how you feel about the show. I really like the production value and just the character designs and everything like that. I like how bold they are. They go over the top and just do like whatever. I mean, that's cool. They're willing to do that. I never finished season 5, I guess. I never finished that. And it just, sometimes it gets to be too over the top. And my main thing is, it's like so over the top. It just, there's suspension of disbelief, and maybe I just don't have that much because it's like just ridiculously over the top. And it's like, just come on. I mean, are you serious? You're going to really try to go that far? So it's just, it's a bit much. And sometimes with, Kaylee Kuko, just a constant screaming. I mean, I don't feel that Harley needs to be screaming at the top of her lungs every single time. Like, she's gonna ask someone, like, if you want a pizza, you want to order pizza, and she's like, would be screaming it. So, I mean, you look at other versions of Harley. I mean, she doesn't have to scream. So, but that being said, I do hope that there is a season 6, and I hopefully I'll get around to watching season 5 sometimes, because I never saw how the season ended, so I should probably get on that sometime. What about the Watcher, the creepy dude in Marvel Universe, the voyeur? I guess there's no way to say that. Rumor he may finally appear in the Marvel movies. He might be in Doomsday. And I started reading, where did I read it? But they're kind of describing some things. And it's like, I guess he would be at the beginning, and there's supposed to be like Tobey Maguire and Doc Ock fighting like X-Men or something. And then I don't know if there's any credibility in that. So I don't know if I'm spoiling anything. I don't feel like I'm spoiling because I don't know how anyone would know something like that. So, but maybe it's going to open with him being like, "Oh, I am the Watcher," and talking about different things. I don't know, but is he necessary? I mean, if the way I see it, if this Doctor Doom or Tony's is, I still don't know. I don't remember if there was any information. I don't know if he's Tony Stark or if he's Victor Von Doom. I don't know if he's Victor Von Doom that looks like 616 Tony Stark, or if it is a different, Earth Tony Stark who's calling himself Doctor Doom. I'm assuming it's a multiverse thing, and he's probably going to explain some stuff like maybe they think that the average person might not understand, which they should, because we literally had Multiverse of Madness and whatever. But it'll be cool to see him. I mean, I would, say that awesome, great. I don't know how people will feel seeing this big-headed dude. I mean, if they've watched Marvel's What If, they should know who he is. And do we need someone to really explain what's going on? I guess it wouldn't hurt. Just don't, make it too long of an intro or something that may not be necessary. So I don't know. Hopefully exciting news. Exit 8, I mentioned this, it was a while ago, like when I first saw a trailer for it. So Exit 8, I know very little about this. It's like a Japanese video game and it's like in a like subway tunnel, and you're like trapped in this subway tunnel or whatever. It looks cool and kind of creepy, and there was supposed to be this movie. I think it came out. I think it was like last November, and I was like, when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, I hope this comes out at my theater. I hope they get it. I hope they get it. And then I never heard anything about it. But maybe I don't know if it was released yet, but now it's sounding like. And it's going to be distributed by Neon. Neon does a lot of cool stuff. So hopefully April 10th this year, 2026. Man, I so want to see that movie, and I would love to see it in a big screen. So fingers crossed for that. What about the Terrifier 4? So Lauren Lavera, who was in Terrifier 2 and 3. I don't think, she wasn't in the first one. So she is like the kick butt girl, final girl in those movies, and she was great in those movies, and after watching those movies, I started following her on Instagram, and I just think that character is so cool, and just it really works with those movies. And she's going to be in another one, but she's saying she hasn't read a script yet for Terrifier 4. So she has no idea what's going on. And, people are saying it's maybe the finale. She's saying, she hopes her character survives. She hopes her brother survives. She's saying her character's been through a lot, so it'd be great if she could have a happy ending. What are the chances of that? But she feels Damon, what's his name, is probably, he's still writing, so, he hasn't shared anything yet. And so that's interesting. Where are they going to go? Because each movie, it's getting like weirder and weirder. Like the stakes are kind of getting higher, and it's like, wait, what is the deal with Art the Clown? So I'm a little scared. Like, where are they going to go? Hopefully it'll be in the right direction. Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh, here we go again. I started seeing some stuff. Like I saw like something like, fans demand, supposedly fans are demanding Johnny Depp return. Who's demanding that? Where? Is there like some? How come no one asked me? Hey, do you want to chime in on this or whatever? Or is it like maybe 5 people on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter? I don't know, but they're talking about. They're still trying to do Pirates of the Caribbean. Obviously, they want to do it because that's been a huge franchise for Disney. But the question is like, where do you go with this? And there was all the Johnny Depp stuff. I still do not know, and at this point I don't need to know. I don't care. It's not up to me. But Disney kind of, I think like everyone kind of wanted to distance themselves from Johnny Depp, and because he was released or whatever, recast in the Fantastic Beasts movies. I don't know if Marvel or I don't know if Disney necessarily like fired him or anything like that, but they kind of maybe was there going to be another Pirates of the Caribbean and they just decided to put that on indefinite hold or something. But there's always a talk of a Margot Robbie, female-led Pirates of the Caribbean, which not necessarily. I don't know if it would be a reboot or anything, but that's like never really gone anywhere, and it's like every once in a while they're talking about it again, and I don't know. It's like how busy is Margot Robbie? I feel like she's so in demand. I obviously yes, I would love to see Margot Robbie Pirates of the Caribbean, but now they're saying maybe to kind of fuse the two different directions or whatever that she may meet up with. It says something like Jack Sparrow's young son. So I don't know what that means. Does that mean he's like young in his 20s? Does that mean he's young as in 10? What does that mean? I don't know. So I'm not sure if that's the best idea. I don't. If there are people, if there is like a core audience that wants Johnny Depp back, and they're like, you want Johnny Depp, but we're going to give you some new character, some newbie actor, and call him Johnny Depp Jr., call him Jack Sparrow Jr. I don't know if people would like that. Then they might be like, let's boycott. I don't know. So we'll have to see. And then the last bit of news. I refuse to have anything to do with these, but I saw like Amy Adams returns in new, or as Lois Lane in new image. So is Zack Snyder still releasing quote unquote new images? And it's like, did he just like snap a bunch of pictures? It's like, how is a new image? You know, were they on set? Like they're like about to film a scene. He's like, oh wait, let me take a shot with my cool. I'm assuming he's got a good camera that he's using. It's not like the regular camera that they're filming, because he's all about. They're captured. I don't know what he is. I'm assuming it's quality camera. So cool, great. Maybe he's like, hey, let's pause. Let me take this shot. I think this would be cool. I'd like to keep the memento or whatever. Is that it? But if it's like in the middle of a scene. How is it? Is it really a new photo? It's like we're gonna do a scene where, remember that scene in a movie where Lois and Clark talk about having a cup of coffee? So she's about to say something. Oh wait, let me hang on. Click or whatever. Okay, continue. Action. Roll. So it's like just a different angle from the scene that we've seen in the movie. Oh, but it's a new image. But then there's like they'll say like, oh, they return. It's like, no, they're not returning. It's just. I don't know. I just don't understand why we keep. And is it just Zack Snyder just like trolling everyone by like oh, here's another new image, here's another new image, and I'm saying it is never going to happen. They're not going to bring it back. They're not going to continue the Snyderverse. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. It's just like kind of weird. Another thing is weird is that is all the news for the week. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot, but there's plenty more podcast talk coming up. All right, comic books. Let's see what we have here. So I'm having problems with PR again. So I didn't get a chance to read everything. So no big secret, but some publishers, allow reviewers, people like me, people like cooler than me or whatever, to get early access to books. It is awesome. It is amazing. So while I don't do written reviews, I obviously talk about them, here on the show. And it is an immense help, even though, comics come out on Wednesday. I don't record on Wednesdays. I record after Wednesdays, obviously. But it's just, it's so helpful to be able to Sunday, Monday, whenever, to, start reading. I'm gonna have a snack. Oh, let me read a comic while I'm doing that. So it helps so much. Because otherwise, what I'm usually doing a lot of time is scrambling. And yeah, but I'm not going to go into that. I mean, I will go into detail if you want to know, but I don't think anyone really cares about that. There's just get to it. So at Image, there wasn't, the only thing that, actually, no, I take that back. I did read. So there was Department of Truth 35. I didn't read that because I was like, did I read 34? Maybe I did, or maybe I didn't. I did read Dork. D''ORC. Half dwarf, half orc, all dork. So this is by Brett Bean. He wrote and drew it, and then Jean-Francois Bellieu did the colors. So that is who did Scotty Young's I Hate Fairyland. So it almost has like the same feel and everything. Just the colors really, they're very nice. And then Nate Pico's, he's a letterer, right? Yeah, lettering, logo, and design. We get this new world, and it's over the top. It's violent. It's crazy. And we got this character. He's, as the cover says, half dwarf, half orc. And what is his deal? He's got also, you can't really, you can see on the cover, he's got a shield. He's got this like magic shield. And there's something going on with the shield. The shield talks to him, and there's more to it than that. And there's apparently like this prophecy of this half dwarf, half orc that is like a bad prophecy. But he doesn't seem like a bad guy. He doesn't really want to kill, but things start happening, and so it's definitely worth checking out. You know me, I don't like the old timey stuff so much. I enjoyed this. I almost wasn't going to read this. I was like, okay, I don't know. But then when I decided to read it because I got to read it early, so I was like, all right, if this, I'm perfectly honest, if I wasn't able to get this until Wednesday, I don't know if I would have read it. The other thing that I will say, the problem is I usually go to like Amazon, like, is it even called Comixology or whatever? That's where now I go to, look at comics and that. And it was friggin' down. I'm like, I was like, because I was Marvel is doing some new stuff and I'm having trouble accessing it, and I'm like, please help me. I'm not hearing anything back, even though they're saying, hey, here you go here, do this. Yeah, I don't know. And it's like, I don't even know what Marvel books are coming out because I'm assuming I can't go to Previews World because I don't even know if that's working anymore. So I'm like, what books come out? So I don't even know if I read, because when the Amazon Comixology thing does work, what I like about there, you can like filter it by publisher. Previews World, you have your featured publishers, but then that's sometimes changed. Like, because DC wouldn't be listed on there, but then it's like, I think like Dynamite, I don't know if you have to pay to be a featured thing, because like I think Dynamite wasn't there, or someone, Boom, were they there? And then they weren't, I don't know. So it's like, wait, because they would have your featured publishers and then they have comics and everything is just combined alphabetically. So if you have your Dynamite, you would have, it's just all mixed there. So it's like, wait, where are all the Dynamite books? They're all spread there alphabetically. So it's not very efficient. But with going through Amazon, you can filter it. Sometimes things trickle over, and you might say, okay, I want to look at the Archie books, or I want to look at the Oni Press books. And then it's like, wait, why is there a Marvel book in there? It's like, so, yeah, so I finally got that sorted out. Okay, so I read Dork. So you should check that out. I'm trying to think. Let's see, what did I read? I don't know if it'd be necessarily my favorite comic of the week, but I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it so much that I ordered a physical copy. I read everything pretty much digital now. And I had to get a copy for this. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Archie versus Army of Darkness. I've said it many times, I'm a big Archie fan. And I'm an Archie fan just because it has given my daughter so much entertainment. So, it's made her so happy. And Archie Comics has always been like so great to me. When I was at Comic Con and everything like that, they were sending me the little digest books. I don't really talk about Archie Comics on Comic Vine, but they would send them to me. And I don't know if they were sending them to me just because they knew, I would mention that my daughter, loved those books or whatever. I loved them when I was a kid. You would get them at the grocery store in the end cap aisles or whatever. And so I have so many of them. And now, the ones that my daughter doesn't read anymore, I have them in my classroom. So my kids read them because, we have a silent sustained reading, and it's like, they read so much as it is. I feel like, okay, if you're not going to work on homework, read something for fun. And so I have some kind of, quote unquote fun books. I have some Peanuts books. I have a Calvin and Hobbes book, and I have so many Archie books. And it makes me so happy seeing kids read Archie, because I feel like you need that. Kids should know. You had the Riverdale show, which is, it's like so extreme, and I don't think like necessarily everyone was watching it. It was like a certain audience or whatever, because it wasn't geared towards younger. So there's something about the Archie that I just adore. And what I also love is the fact that Archie does these weird and wacky crossovers. And, there must have been some changing of the guard at some point, because it used to be, and I totally see it, where maybe they're like, okay, Archie is like a sacred institute. We can't do, something too weird or edgy. We need to preserve the sanctity of what Archie is. I totally 100% get that, and I respect that. But then at some point, they're like, hey, Afterlife with Archie. Let's do Archie and zombies. Archie versus Predator. Let's go ahead and do that. Have Jughead get his spine ripped out or whatever. I don't remember if that happened. I think that is amazing that they've been doing stuff like that. That they've been crossing, that line, and the books have been hilarious and entertaining. I didn't quite get into like Archie versus Sharknado because I'm not a really Sharknado fan. I don't, honestly, confession, I've never watched a Sharknado movie. I may have flipped through to channels like past sci-fi channels like, oh, there's Sharknado, whatever. I don't know. What is a Sharknado 18? I can't watch it because I don't know what's going on. I missed the first 20 episodes or series, movies or whatever. I just so appreciate the Archie books. And sometimes the crossovers are a little forced, whatever. But even, was it only one book? There's an Archie versus Jay and Silent Bob or meets Jay and Silent Bob or whatever. That setup worked. Archie is going to the next town over. He works at the whatever, what's it called? Not the quick shop. Is it the quick stop? That doesn't sound right, but it sounds right, but it doesn't sound right. So, Archie meets Jay and Silent Bob, and they swear a lot, and they're doing drugs, and Archie's so squeaky clean, and so it was kind of weird in a way, but it did work. It felt like it was Clerks 4 or whatever. So with Archie versus Army of Darkness, the setup is so credible. It makes sense, and I don't even know how much I should say about it. But basically, the gang goes to a place, and I guess I'll say this: there's like a hidden room, and there's a hidden library, and the Necromonicon is there. Okay, it totally makes sense why they're at this place, how they got access and so forth. That it seems so seamless. Like it just makes perfect sense that they could be there, that would happen. And I feel like there might be more to it than what we've seen so far. Great, perfect. And then what about Ash? How's he going to play into it? They make a setup for Archie and Ash to meet up. And I don't want to mention that, but I won't say it's like brilliant. It's such it's so seamless, and I don't want to say it's such a simple setup because that sounds insulting, and it's not. But it's simple in a way that it just works. So I think it's great, and thank you to Archie and thank you to Dynamite Comics for making this happen because I loved it. So like I said, I went to archiecomics.com or whatever the website is. Archie, I just Googled Archie because I've bought some stuff from Archie before, and they have there's different covers. So I was like, oh, they got the main cover. I love the cover because it's like the Army Darkness poster. But there are some different covers. So I did go. I looked at. I was using one comic shop, and while they delivered and they gave good discounts, I had the lack of customer service and like the delays, and then I'm like, okay, this came out like a month ago, and you have not given me like a single like reply that it's delayed. Is it coming? What is going on? And so then I was like, well, maybe I'll go back to what I should have done is Midtown Comics. I purchased from them lots of times. I went to their store once in New York. But I've always been happy with their delivery. There's a couple others like Tifa, Things from Another World. I've always been happy with them when doing these mail order stuff. And what I like about Midtown is like if you land on Archie Comics, Archie versus Army of Darkness, you can like see the different covers. Like it gives you the option cover A, cover B, cover C. And you can see, they're priced accordingly because, like, oh, this is a retailer exclusive. This is the 1 in 10. This is the Virgin cover. This is whatever. And so I looked at the different covers, and there's a slight discount. I paid cover price through Archie versus I could have saved, like 50 cents or whatever. And the other covers are nice, but it's like, okay, I can't buy 5 covers or whatever. And there's like a metallic cover. I'm talking so much about this so long about this comic. I just went with the basic cover. And the reason I went with Archie is because I want to support Archie directly. So while, I should be supporting the stores themselves, I should be trying to find a local store but they keep moving or disappearing or closing. And there is one, but it's not like super convenient to get to. It's like, as far as like parking and that. So I ordered from Archie. And I don't know how long it'll take. I may have gotten a notification that it's preparing to ship or going to ship. But so yeah, I loved it. And as I love Evil Dead, Army of Darkness so much. I mean, you know that. I'm not trying to claim the fandom or whatever, but I totally approve of this. I feel it's like it's not sacrilege or anything like that. So you should definitely check that out. It was good. There was also a Thundar the Barbarian comic from Dynamite, and this is written by Jason Aaron. Huber Bale does the art, and it was all right. I will admit I didn't completely read it cover to cover. I started reading it and then I had to start skimming because of time. But it was interesting. I watched the cartoon as a kid. I'm not, again, completely invested one way or the other. I think it's great that it's being made, but it could be interesting. And I guess part of the problems I had is, some of like the mutant creatures. There's like these mutant rat creatures and other stuff like that. They look a little hokey, and maybe they're cool and interesting as in a cartoon, but. Yeah, so I didn't completely read that, but we'll see. Maybe with the second issue, I'll check that out. But I think it's great that they have this comic, and I hope people are going to enjoy it. So I think that was it from like the non-Marvel DC stuff. At Marvel, so this, I usually go in alphabetical order, but that's not how they were. So let's see. There was Ultimate Endgame. I don't know what, issue 2. This was so hard for me to read, and I'm not trying to be negative or anything, but I feel like a lot of times I am lately with comics, and it does bother me because I don't want to be like that, but I'm just not enjoying a lot of this stuff, and I think that just means it's not written for me, and that is fine. I just really hope other people are digging it. But with this, they're trying to find the maker, and they've crossed over into this whatever sphere, this other thing, and I was like I said, I was just like struggling to get through it. It's like, okay, wait, that's Kang. What's going on? And it's like it just felt like it just kept going, and I was like just trying to find out like what's happening, and the fact that there's even Death's Head in here. Like I don't remember if I mentioned that when issue 1 came out, but when I saw Death's Head I was like, I love Death's Head. I was like, so it's like awesome. We got Ultimate Death's Head. No friggin' way. This is crazy. Although it is Death's Head 22 apparently, but even Death's Head is not enough to make me like love this. And I think part of it is because I just do not care for the maker. I can't stand, even though it should be cool. It's like evil Reed Richards, that's crazy. But I can't get into it. And I think part of it also is because possibly, and I feel like there's a way out. But if they are if they are ending the Ultimate Universe, then it's like, why should I read? Why should I, invest my time or money or whatever if it's just going to end? And yes, the simple answer is because you are getting entertainment out of it. But the thing is, I'm kind of not. Like Ultimate Wolverine, my buddy likes it. I couldn't get into it. Ultimate Black Panther, I didn't like the whole Moon Knight stuff. Kind of threw me off, and maybe I didn't give it a fair chance. Ultimate X-Men, I think it's so cool, but because of time, I couldn't get into it. So I don't know. I mean, they're billing it as like the Ultimate Universe ending. There was a teaser that Marvel said is like something about, I don't know if it was something Reborn, because I feel like, why would they cancel? I mean, unless sales were like abysmal, they're probably going to find some way to continue it in some form or whatever. Especially Spider-Man. If they can find an awesome writer, then that's what they need to keep going. The thing is, like Spider-Man in this book, it didn't feel like Ultimate Spider-Man. And you also have the fact where he's got like his mask, his eyes are squinting or going bug-eyed. And it's like he's wearing although I guess he's wearing a suit, but it doesn't do that. It just felt like, because someone else wrote him, right? I'm assuming. Yeah, and it's like he was written more like regular Spider-Man than like Ultimate Spider-Man. So I don't know. So we had that. Whatever, just end already. That's fine with me. I know it's horrible. There's Ultimate Wolverine 14. I no idea what's going on. Storm #1. I think I saw someone said whatever, Marvel's something mutant deserved better or something. I don't know. I have no idea. Although according to this, it looks like I did a screenshot of this, and it looks like Storm had 3.5 stars, but that might be out of 3 reviews. So I don't know. There was Uncanny X-Men number 23, I believe. I didn't read this. I probably should read this. This might be another, because I'm trying to remember how the last issue ended with Mutina. I don't care for the character, but did she join the X-Men? Because part of her thing is like, she wants to join for some reason, and so you see this cover. There's some shadows. I don't know if that's her on the cover. I didn't read it. Avengers 30. Oh man, I need glasses. 35. What happened in this book? Oh, so we got this device that Kang was trying to use to like destroy the universe, create a new universe, and Avengers and the other team of like Arthurian whatever base characters. I forget what they're called. And then they're trying to get a hold of this thing. The problem is this thing is about to go off, and it's like, what can you do? They've kind of defeated Kang, but there's no getting away from it. And then there's these other, it's just, hopefully this is the end of it. I didn't enjoy it so much. We got Magic and Colossus, issue 1 of 5. I am curious about this. Looks like it's written by Ashley Allen, maybe? I have no idea what this book is about, what's going to happen. I do really like Ilyana and Colossus usually. I mean, sometimes he's a jerk, sometimes he's annoying. So I'm curious what the story is going to be here. So I probably will check that out. If I do, and if I remember, I'll try to mention next week what I thought. Amazing Spider-Man 21. More Norman fighting the Green Goblin Revenge Squad or whoever. These people trying to stop him, and we got all the spider people trying to help out too. And it's weird. So basically, there's like a lot of like Norman versus Hobgoblin. So there's some cool stuff here. You should definitely check that out. There's Wolverine number 15. No idea what this is about. I haven't been enjoying the Wolverine comics since it started, so I didn't even try. Let's see, Nova Centurion number 4. I'm on the fence with this series. I really love Nova. I love Richard Rider. I'm just not a big cosmic fan, which I know seems kind of silly because that's kind of the point. And there is kind of like possibly like a dark twist in the last issue, so this is another one I should probably check out, but I didn't because of time and access, whatever. Godzilla Infinity Roar. I have no idea what's going on there, but I've been reading the Godzilla. I don't know if this is still continued from the other Marvel Godzilla books. It seems like that's what they've kind of been doing. So, but wait, that's Jerry Duggan, Ken Lashley. I should have read that. Planet of the Apes versus Fantastic Four. I've read this. This is actually the first Marvel book I read this week. Usually I start with Spider-Man. It's similar to like Archie. I didn't like it as much as Archie versus Army of Darkness, But similar to that, the setup does work. They come up with a good hook. How can you bring these together? These two whatever franchise groups, and they make it work. And it's borderline silly, but not totally silly. I probably shouldn't say that because it's not goofy in a way, but yeah, I'm definitely going to read this. Like with the Marvel and Predator stuff, I was kind of loosely, and maybe I just like Planet of the Apes better than Predator. I don't know, but I'm definitely intrigued enough that I am on board to read the rest of these. So yeah, you should check that out. Logan, Black, White, and Blood. Nope, didn't read that. Marvel Fanfare, Spirits of Vengeance. I think that is it. Oh wait, was it Spider-Gwen? Did that come out this week? Oh man, I didn't read that. All New Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider, or something like that. I think it's issue 7. I need to check that out. Then at DC, we had Absolute Superman 16. I feel like I need to go back at some point, but now I'm starting to get intimidated. It's like, okay, so there's the last issue I read was probably maybe 3, 4, and now to try to catch up, I don't know. Batman number 6. Man, I love this book so much, and it's weird. I don't know if it's because it's Matt Fraction, and I love Matt Fraction. Sorry, Kelly Sue. I hope you don't mind. I love his books, and Jorge Jimenez's art is so good. And what I love about this series is it's like separate from the regular DC universe or Batman books, but not completely like removed. If could easily be in there, but it just feels so. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like so. That's how I describe it. Just punching my hand. It's just so solid, so superhero-y. But there's like the hints of the Matt Fraction humor that he puts in there. It's not like his Jimmy Olsen or some of the other stuff that he's done. But I feel like Matt Fraction is just such a brilliant, like intricate writer, and he can just go in different directions whenever he wants to, and I think that's works here. What happened with like Damian last issue, and we're seeing a little bit of here. That was kind of crazy. And then there's some stuff with Tim Drake that happens, and so I'm just so on board with this book. It's so refreshing, and not a knock against the other ones, but it just I think because it doesn't feel tight or bogged down, because it's just like it can actually stand on its own, and that's wonderful. As much as I love continuity, I'm also enjoying this. I will say that the last page, we do get like who is this? And I don't know if it's who I think it is, who might, and I don't know if it's obviously it's this person. Is it? I don't know. So definitely, yeah. So if you've read it, you're like, what are you talking about, Tony? Of course it's so and so, but we'll have to see about that. DC KO Night Fight 4. I didn't read that. And then there's I didn't read a lot of DC. Let's see. There's Green Lantern. I didn't read that. Boss Battle, DC KO Boss Battle. I almost didn't read this because I was like, what the heck is Boss Battle? And then I was like, well, maybe I'll check it out. And I almost feel like I missed something. Like maybe I didn't read like the first panel or first page or whatever. But it's a lot of DC versus other random. How did this happen? Because I heard about one of the matchups. I was like, wait, what? Are you serious? It was actually in a book, and then on the cover, it's got like all these different companies, that have somehow agreed to this. So what we get, and it's continuing like the DC KO thing, but okay, more than that in just a second. So we got like Plastic Man and I think Black Lightning versus Scorpion and Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. Crazy, weird. But we've seen that before, so okay, not too far-fetched. We had Wonder Woman versus Red Sonja. So we got some DC and Dynamite crossover. Okay, that's cool. There's Joker versus Annabelle. Wait, how did it get Annabelle in here? Who do you even talk to? Like, hey, can we use this character in a comic? We got Batwoman versus Vampirella. Some more Dynamite. Star Sapphire versus Sabrina the Teenage friggin' witch. Lex Luthor versus Samantha Strong. I'm drawing a blank. I know the character. It's basically a bear. I forget what Samantha Strong is, and I didn't stop to. I don't want to stop to Google and that. Yes, okay. I'm admitting my ignorance here. I should know. It's totally like on the tip of my brain because I know the name, but yeah. So there was that. Superman versus Homelander. How did that end? Oh, the same way all of them kind of ended. Okay. Then there was, I think that was it. So you had all these kind of fights, whatever, and the problem is, it was like super fast, and it's just like, okay, boom, 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 and it would have been nice, although that would be a lot, because like with the round 2 books. We got all these like complete issues. We got to see these fight. We got to see 3 rounds or whatever of the characters fighting. And here we just get like a couple pages. So it was just kind of weird. And I totally don't get why or how some sort of multiverse power fight, I guess. I don't know. Nice House by the Sea. Nice House by the Sea. Is this like the 2nd volume? Because I started reading it and then I don't know what happened. I kind of stopped. And is it still going? Because I don't think this is a 3rd volume. We had JSA 16. We had Batgirl 16. Was there something? I thought I read something. Maybe that was it. Yeah, because then there's Batman Static Beyond. Poison Ivy is at issue 41, I believe. There is Superman Chain of Love special. Is that supposed to be like, it's Valentine's Day, let's do this book about whatever love stories? And then there's DC versus AEW. I don't know what AEW is. Is that like, I'm seeing some dude with like not without a shirt. Is this like a wrestling league? I know nothing. Welcome to the podcast of entertainment where apparently I don't know everything. Man, get off my lawn. I don't, what's going on? So, what I do know, what's going on, that is it. That's all the comics I read. That is comics for the week. All right, with Fallout Season 2, Episode 7, The Handoff. So this is the penultimate episode, right? We got one more after this, which is kind of crazy. And I have no idea where it's going to go. The last episode is out right now, so you can watch it, or you can wait till next week. But yeah, I don't know. People are yelling. So let's just get into it. It's like they're coming, they're coming. You see some people running through the woods. So it's like, wait, what's going on? Who are these people? There's an alarm going off. There's gunfire. We see 2 women are running, and then there's like a vertibird, like one of those flying things in front of them, and they kind of like stop because I don't think they've ever seen one, like up close or whatever. Then an armored soldier tells them halt and go back to the internment camp, hosers. So it's like, oh, it must be in Canada, right? And then you start to realize what's going on. Turn around and start walking, or I will shoot. So there's an armored soldier. So this guy comes running up to like the armored dude, and then he like shoots him, I guess, or I don't know if he had a bomb or something like that, because there's a big explosion. And it's like we see one of the ladies is Stephanie Harper. So it's like she wakes up. Is this a dream? Is this a memory? And then back in the woods. So. We see the women are on the ground, are like coughing. There's high pitch ringing from the explosion. Then back to Stephanie in her vault in her bed, and it's weird. They really make a point to show us like, yeah, she is missing an eye. 'Cause she lost her eye, and the fight in the season 1 or whatever in the vault, and she always wears an eye patch now. But she's sleeping, so I guess. It's a little nasty looking. It's like, would you want to sleep without the eye patch? I know it would be uncomfortable to have it on all the time, but okay. So she gets up, she like brushes her teeth, and we get a lot of shots of this missing eye. There's like random flashbacks to the woods, and she's with someone. At first, I was like, who is this? Is this her friend? Is this her sister? Her mom? It's her mom. Because I was like, is it her girlfriend? It's like, what's going on? We don't know. What are they trying to? It's her mom. Okay. So her mom, I think her mom's name was Joan. It doesn't matter, unfortunately. So she's like, we see her later. She's injured. She got injured. She got like a big gut wound. I don't know, shrapnel flu or something like that. So she tells Stephanie to cross the border and keep going south, get somewhere warm. And she's like, I know I raised you Catholic, but you should forget all that. Forget everything those people ever said. And Steph's like, you're coming with me. And she's like, it's too late for me, my love. She's like, there's a flood coming. And then it like cuts. It keeps like flicking back to the present. It's like, brush, 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 brush. She's like rigorously brushing her teeth. And so then her mom's like, now you keep your head above that water any way you can. And you get south of the border. And you cling to the highest branch that you can. And you survive. And then we see Stephanie running, brush, 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 brush in the present. And then back to with her mom. So it's like, it's just cutting all over the place. If you have to hurt people, God won't judge you. It's like, really? Then there's this regular guy. He's like, by the back of his pickup truck, he has a can of beans. Stephanie kind of runs up to him from behind, slits his throats. And she just got all that just for a can of beans. Takes the beans and takes off. So this poor dude, like not just minding his own business and just gets killed for a can of beans. It's like one thing, just knock him out. But no, you slit his throat. So and then in the present, rush, 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 rush. Then we see her at the Canada-U.S. border. She just like kind of walks through the gates, and the border guard leans out of the little like gate building or whatever. He's like, "Hey, beautiful," and she like stops her in tracks. At first, I'm like, "Oh, this guy can be a little like condescending or whatever." And he's like, "Passport, brush, brush, brush," and then she turns slowly. And then in the present, she like spits in the sink. There's like some blood. Then it's like it cuts back to her mom, and she's like, her mom's like, "Don't think of them as human beings." And then there's a shot of her like in the present, like looking in the mirror, and her mom's like, "Think of them as Americans." It's like, wow, angry Canadians here, I guess. And then we see her walking. The border guard is dead, like in the building, and then it's like the opening logo. So yeah, this was a flashback to how Stephanie got. She's from Canada. We know because she had Chet found her ID, and she makes it south to somehow get in a vault. So then, at the Vault Tech building, Hank's brainwashed workers. I don't know what we want to call them with the little device on their necks. They continue happily working. They're at their desk putting little pieces together and like almost like synchronized, like handing it over to the person next to them, stuff like that. The song "When You're Smiling, the Whole World Smiles With You" is playing. Lucy kind of walks around. She walks up to her dad, and she's like, "Well, I guess there's one way to save the world." And he like nods, and she's like, "But it's wrong." And he's like, "Perfect is the enemy of good, Lucy." The snake oil salesman dude, he's nearby, and she like looks at him. He's just like smiles, and she's like, "What does it do to their brains?" And Hank's like, "Tidies things up a bit, cleans the memories of the horrors they've experienced. The dial controls how much amnesia they have, and the mainframe implants new ideas in their heads." He's like, turning these wastelanders into well-meaning, good people. And she like frowns. She's like, "I'm shutting this whole thing down, and I'm bringing you home. How do I do that?" And he's like, "Once the procedure's been finished, it's irreversible." And she's like, "Fine. Then how do I stop you from making more?" And Hank's like, "Well, we have to destroy the mainframe which programs the boxes, and that's in the basement." So Lucy's like, "How do I get there?" He's like, "It's a bit of a hike." And he like thinks for a second. He's like, "Let's take the golf cart." And he like smiles and gets up, starts walking, and she's like, "What's a golf cart?" He's like, "Oh, Lucy, this is going to be fun." And she sighs. So he has her behind the wheel of the little cart to like teach her to drive. And she's like kind of jerking the car, like that, kind of going all over the place. He's like, "All right, this is a toughie, Lucy. You don't use both feet." And she's like, "What?" She's like, "There's two pedals." And he's like, "I know, but you just use one foot for both pedals." She's like, "That doesn't make any sense." He's like, "You'll get it. You're doing great. Really wish we'd have a normal life, sugar bomb." And she's like, "We did have one, Dad. You wrecked it." So they enter this other area. There's more people working there. He takes her to like where like the door where the mainframe would be. There's like another like vault door or whatever there. And she says that she's like, "I need water and I need potassium." And Hank's like, "To make an explosive?" He's like, "What if you don't have potassium?" And she's like, "I can make do with." He's like, "Come on, you got this." And this worker tells her to mind the floor because he just mopped. And she stares at the dude as he like smiles at them. So it's the guy that was choking her last episode when the two guys were brought in to be changed, and she like untied to one guy and he attacked. He was like trying to attack the other guy. She's trying to stop him. And she's like, thank you. And then she pauses at the door. She looks back at the dude mopping. She's like, you know the Legion's still out there? And Hank's like, I know. She's like, they're going to hurt a lot of people. He's like, yes. She's like, and with what you've created, you could stop them. And Hank's like, we could stop them, Lucy. Then we see a New Republic flag, Gould, Dogmeat, Maximus, and Thaddeus are like walking through his like deserted barracks or something like that. Thaddeus is like, he's kind of struggling. He wants to say something to Gould, and finally he walks up because Gould's walking ahead of them. He goes up to him. He's like, hey, just a couple of ghouls, am I right? And Gould just looks at him, like sighs, continues walking. And then Thaddeus kind of like looks back at Maximus, like, just talking ghoul stuff. And then he goes up to Maximus. He's like, so you fought that guy? Maximus is like, yeah, but I was wearing power armor. And Thaddeus is like, well, that armor is really hard to operate. When I was in that poop, I tried to pick up a cup in a cafeteria. It was crazy. And he's like, you sure we should be following him? And Maximus is like, he said he would take us to Lucy. Then he calls out to Gould. He's like, hey, where are we going? And Gould's like, Lucky 38. And Thaddeus is like, we're going in the wrong direction. Vegas is that way. Gould says, you want to save the girl? You're going to have to get into an impenetrable vault. Same vault my family is in. To get there, you're going to have to cross the strip. You want to cross the strip? You're going to have to kill a pack of death claws. We need to kit up. So Maximus is like, so Lucy's in Las Vegas. And then Gould's like, I can see why you two got along so well. And Maximus is like, yeah? Why is that? Because you ask a lot of GD questions. And he's like, stops walking. He's like, I got a question for you. So he turns around, raises his pistol at him. How do you have that? And Thaddeus is like, whoa, 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 whoa. He's like, okay. He's like, maybe before things escalate here, we can maybe all agree that he's got a gun. So Gould's like, open your hand. And Thaddeus whispers, like, just let him see it. So Maximus opens his hand. He's got the vial with the cold fusion diode. And he's like, this is for Lucy. She's a good person. She'll do the right thing with it. And he like sticks it in his jacket pocket. Gould keeps pointing a gun, then lowers it. He like stares at it a bit longer. Then he turns and continues walking. In the past, at the Vegas hotel, Barb's like in the back room. She hears Cooper talking to a maid, and he like thanks her for helping his friend get back to his hotel room. And she's like, oh, not to worry, sir. And he's like, but you've seen a lot in this town. He gives her like, hands over some bills. And she's like, hey, I've seen your face on those billboards for the vaults. He's like, yeah. And then we see who the maid is. It's Stephanie. So Stephanie in the past. So like everyone, it's so weird how like everyone is like so old. They're from the old times. They're all frozen. And she's like, do you have any idea how a gal on minimum wage can get into one? He's like, I'm sorry, sweetheart, but the vaults aren't all they're cracked up to be. Maybe the best thing that we could hope for is that enough people do the right thing so that the vaults aren't necessary. And you can see she's disappointed, but then she like gives like a fake smile. And she's like, that's a nice sentiment, but I think I have a better chance of getting in the vault. And she's like, do you know how I could get a job at Vault Tech? He sighs and he's like, ask him. He motions to pass out Hank in like a laundry cart. She smiles and leaves. Then Barb comes out of the back room. Then later, so still in the past in Vegas, Cooper goes into this bar. He has like a leather jacket on and a cap and like sunglasses. He sits at a table with the congresswoman. He thanks her for meeting with him, and she thanks him for bailing her out of jail. He's like, I know you're a good person, and I know that you're trying to do the right thing. It's like, I want to believe in people like you that fight for all the right things, but you don't make it easy. I saw you last week at that VA meeting. He's like, why can't good people like you just learn to sell it better? And she's like, I don't know. How's that worked for you in your experience? How much do you actually know about the company that put you on all those billboards? He's like, more than I did when I signed the contract. And she's like, so you know why your wife's in Las Vegas? He's like, they're delivering the most powerful technology in the world to the most powerful man in the world. Robert House wants a diode so that he can live forever. And Vault-Tec gets the bombs in exchange. And when they do that, and she says, they'll be the only ones left. And that's what they want. So then Cooper's like, what if my wife's deal fell through? What would you do with infinite energy? And the congressman was like, give it away to the public. And Cooper's like, I know how it's being transported. If I could deliver it to you, I'll need assurances. No offense, and she's like, no, I get it. I wouldn't give it to me either. But if it helps, 2 hours ago, an unmarked government plane landed in McCarran Airport. The President of the United States is in Las Vegas. How would you feel about giving it directly to him? And Cooper's like, you can get me a meeting with the president? And she's like, yes. And Cooper's like, that would work. She's like, give him the diode and we can put an end to 25 years of resource wars tonight. And the president at the old barracks, Ghoul kicks open this door and he chuckles. There's a lot of artillery in there, but the building has a lot of bullet holes, it looks like, but there's still stuff in there. Ghoul sees this nice rifle and he's like, hello, darling. Then Thaddeus awkwardly starts talking to him. He's like, I'm sure you probably know this, but I'm actually kind of new to this Ghoul stuff. He's like, yeah, still got my nose. It's like, that's the worst thing, really. Just waiting for it to fall off. Just hurry up already. He's like, and then there's this. He shows him, he pulls open his shirt to the side, and it looks like he's got this growth on his clavicle. He's like, this is normal, right? But then there's a close-up shot of it. It's actually a mouth with like 5 or 6 kind of twisted teeth and everything, and it's like moving. And Ghoul stares at it and at him, and he sighs. And Thad's like, okay, I'm gonna dial this in. He's just gotta. Hey, anybody see a scope? Let me know. It's like, Max is like, I don't understand. Why are you helping us through all this? And Ghoul, he's like, well, ain't nothing in this world for free. This is a transaction. You want to get your girlfriend? You're gonna need some weapons to take down some death claws. Now, you want what's in this room? You got to give me what's in your pocket. And Max is like, I told you, it's for Lucy. But it's what's to stop Ghoul from just shooting him in the head and taking it? So Ghoul's like, so you want to give that thing to a good person so they can save the world. I understand. But in order to save that good person, you're going to have to give it to a really bad person. In all my years, I've only ever seen one man come out on top in Vegas. We got to do it like he did. Max was like, and what's that exactly? So Ghoul cuts this rope holding his cover over something. It gets pulled off. There's this old armored suit in there. It's he rigged the game. And Maximus walks closer to the suit. He looks at, there's an old NCR, New California Republic logo on there. And he kind of smiles. He's like, you always end up back where you started, huh? And he hands a diode, or he holds the diode out, and Ghoul takes it. He's like, now you understand. So then we hear muffled voices. He's not one of us. It's Ronnie talking. He's been lying to us this entire time. So Norm is lying on the floor. He was knocked out. Then Clark's like, what do we do with him? And then this guy Pete's like, he's dangerous, untrustworthy. And Ronnie's like, right. He's like, and if we let him go, he could come back and try to kill us. He's like, wait, I'm pretty sure that the Vault-Tec handbook says that impersonating management is punishable by death. And Clark's like, oh, if you're pretty sure that the Vault-Tec handbook says that, I mean, and he chuckles. Pete's like, he's awake. Clark's like, rats. And he's like, what should we do? Ronnie says, knock him out again. Norm's like, what's going to happen to my vault? Clark has a big lamp or clock or something he holds overhead. He's like, this can't be good for your brain. Bam! Slams it down in his head. So it's do you really have to knock him out? You can't just tie him up or something? At Vault 32, Chet's cleaning some plates, around a plate. Stephanie's looking at some papers at the table. He's struggling because he's trying to find the words for what he wants to say. So he's at the sink. He's like, so I saw we're getting married tomorrow. And she doesn't say anything. Then in an exaggerated voice, he's like, I'm so excited. And then he's like, I'm just curious. Why? And she's like, Chet, I'm working. And she has a stern look, but then she gives a little fake smile. And he just turns back to the sink and he closes his eyes. The sink's kind of like stopped up, so he runs the garbage disposal, turns it off. And then it's like, at this part, I'm like, wait, what's happening here? Because he starts sticking his hand in there. And I'm like, is he going to try to injure himself so he can't get married? But he finds a pair of glasses in there. And whose glasses are there? They're Woody's glasses, right? They got to be. He asks her, he's like, have you seen Woody lately? She says that seems like so many people missed my big public announcement. Woody's been sent on a leadership exchange program in Vault 31. And Chet like looks at the glasses. Then he breaks them in half, puts them back in a garbage disposal, and turns it on. He sighs like in exasperation. But it's like, okay, that's the evidence. Shouldn't he have kept it? But I guess, is he covering for her? There's a shot of a hall. PA reminds people that water rationing remains in effect until further notice. Showers are outlawed, and so is flushing the toilet. So now we're in the other vault. Betty sits at her desk. She finally gets up. She opens a wall safe behind a picture. There's a blue case in there. It says property of Hank. What was his last name? But on the top, it's like keepsakes. And she's like, Henry, you and your secrets. So we see Stephanie walks to go meet with Barb. Because I guess, Barb must have said, okay, I'll give you the case, because Stephanie mentioned she wanted it. And she opens the vault door. Stephanie opens the vault door, sees like a cart with the case on there. And she's like, almost like shocked. She's like surprised that, to actually see it. And then Barb startles her like in a dark corner. She's like, congratulations on your engagement. And Stephanie's like, do you have people spying on me, Betty? And Barb's like, of course I do. It's like, you're so much like how I remember you. We were scared of you, but I sometimes forget how much I learned in the time you were still under. And Stephanie's like, I learned my fair share before I went under. So Stephanie starts like pushing the cart, like wheeling out, but Barb stops her. She's like, you gave your word to divert 50% of your water production to Vault 33. Or so help me. And Stephanie's like, you'll get your water. So she just lifts the case up. Barb's like, whatever you're up to, I want no part of it. I just want these people to live in peace. Stephanie's like, the deal was for water, Betty. I can't speak for the future. That's bigger than us. So it's like, what are her plans? In Vegas and present, people like stop and stare when Ghoul, Maximus, like in armor, and Thaddeus walk through the town. One guy like takes off his hat, like in respect. Thaddeus, he's like, why are they looking at us like that? And Ghoul's like, never underestimate the power of brand recognition. So it gets us the NCR logo on the armor. People are like following them down the street. One man yells, long live the new California Republic. And someone's like, welcome back. And they're like, kill the Death Claws. And someone's like, get us back our town. They reach the gate where the Death Claws are. Maximus asks, through the armor, he's like, so Lucy's on the other side of the gate? And Ghoul's like, yep. Now, once we cross over there, we're going to have to move fast. It's only about 50 yards to those steps, but those things are quick. And Max is like, understood. And he's like, sniper, get up on that roof. Thaddeus like stands there, and then his arm slides out of his shirt sleeves. Max is like, whoa. And he's like, yeah, I would, but I just seem to be having a sort of medical episode here. This sort of thing happens to folks like us all the time, right? And Max was like, maybe you should hang back this time, Thaddeus. He's like, you sure? He's like, your arm just fell off. He's like, if you could just give me a few minutes here, I can sort it out. If I can get the finger on the trigger, then maybe I can get this situated. Ghoul and Maximus just like walk towards the gate. So I don't know what's going to happen. Like, why does the arm just fall off? Lucy has a yellow dress on now. She's like cleaned herself up. She looks herself in a mirror. She's like, okie dokie. She heads out. She goes past like global comms. There's like a radio there for like the comms. And that's what Norm was going to try to use before. Right? I think it was, or someone was. I think it was Norma. It was Norma or Ronnie. She's going to have a meal with her dad. He still has handcuffs on. And they're going to have mashed potatoes just like at home. And Hank's like, always your favorite. He's like, Norm, not so much. And they like laugh. So then this neck device dude fills their glasses with water, and he asks if they need anything else. And Hank says that they're fine, but Lucy, she saw him on the outside. So she's like, can I ask you a question? And she's like, do you remember me? And he's like, yes, this morning. And she's like, no, from the hill where we first met. You lived there for 25 years. And he's like, Lucy? She's like, do you remember the New California Republic? And he like just stands there, not saying anything. And she looks at her dad and he sighs. So Hank's like, we're fine here. Thank you. The New California, the guy leaves. He's like, the New California Republic? He scoffs. It's just like the Legion. They all have their problems, Lucy. High taxes, expansionist tendencies, unpopular foreign policy. It's like, trust me, you'll understand when you're older. And then he's like taking something out of the oven. He like burns his hand. He I forget what he doesn't curse, but he says something. And then, because he's taking a tray out of the oven. So Lucy's like, oh, let me help. So then he's like, be careful, it's hot. But instead of like helping with the tray, she starts like undoing his handcuff. And she's like, I think I do understand. One side is murdering people, enslaving them, crucifying them, and the other side is just vaguely problematic. Then she attaches the cuff that she took off to the oven and takes his Pip-Boy off. And he's like, Lucy, no. She's like, I have to admit, you always were a good father. Thanks to you, I'm not a fudging idiot. He's like, Lucy. She's like, I'm shutting down the mainframe. He's like, Lucy, do not. Lucy. And then he's like, ugh, he's like pulling at the oven. He's like frustrated. Norm's hands are like bound by an extension cord. He wakes up and like Claudia's like over him. At first I thought it's like she tying him up, but she's actually untying him. She's like, we have to get out of here. So he's like, I have to do something first. So he goes to the radio, the mic, the comms mic. He tries calling out to Lucy. He's like, if you're out there, he's like, I'm on the surface. I need your help. Lucy, meanwhile, is trying to drive the cart in the tunnels. Norm continues like, Dad, if you can hear me, what's going to happen to our vault? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell us the truth? Then we see like Ronnie and the others are standing at the door. So he must have heard what he said. So Norm like stands up, kind of backs away a little bit. He just kind of glares at them. At the vault, the wedding's happening. So Stephanie's, she says, I do. Then Chet, he kind of hesitates. He like looks at the crowd. Stephanie's like, say I do. He whispers, he's like, I don't. What's his name? Was it Davy? He's like, I now pronounce you. And then Chet says louder, he's like, I don't. And guests start murmuring. She's like, Chet, don't do this. And Chet's like, I don't know. Maybe we should just keep going. And she's like, And he's like, it just seemed like the only time that I was going to have a lot of, he like chuckles, witnesses around to say, she starts squeezing his hands. He's like, I think that Steph is part of some kind of plan to hurt us. I don't know what exactly, but I don't think that Woody is in Vault 31. And she like whispers, she's like, Chet. He's like, I think that Steph hurt him. I found his glasses in our garbage disposal. There's more murmuring from the guests. And Dave's like, that is a serious accusation. Where are those glasses? And Chet's like, I put them back into disposal. And then he's like, Davey, or he's like, cold feet are normal. Let's continue the ceremony. And he's like, no. And there's more gasps and murmurs. He's like, Steph was not born in Vault 31. And she whispers again. She's like, Chet. And Chet's like, she's 200 years old. Guests start like gasping. And Chet's like, and she's not even from America. He takes out and holds up her Canadian ID. She's Canadian. Guests like gasp and scream, Canadian, why? Davey grabs ID. That was his name. His name is Davey. Not, what did I say before? Did I say Davey? His name is Davey. Pretty sure it's Davey. He grabs ID and like looks at it. Stephanie stares at the guest, and then she pushes past Chet. And she starts like running out. People shout, who are you, Steph? She's running down the halls in her like wedding dress. There's flashes back to her like running through the woods. She seals the vault to her office door. Guests are outside like pounding on the door, like open up. And they start, open up, open. They start like chanting. And she sits at her desk and puts her, her face in her hands. In Vegas, Ghoul and Maximus walk. They see a death claw eating like another one, like a dead one. Maximus like, what's the strategy? Ghoul's like, I want you to get between me and anything that looks like that. So then it like sees him standing there, so it like turns to them, it starts like flexing its claws and snarling. Maximus like moves forward. He has like some blades on his forearms. They're like extended out. The death claw moves towards him. They struggle a little bit. He manages to like slash his chest, and it has an impact on it. Ghoul makes his move. Like he's going to go towards the hotel. Maximus' arm gets stuck in a car door, and he can't get it out. So the Deathclaw starts moving towards Ghoul. He starts like shooting at it, and it's a pretty nice. It was the old darling gun because it's making big impacts, like wounds on it, but it's not stopping it. Maximus makes it to him. He ripped the door off the car, whoosh, brings his arm down. He sliced the Deathclaw's head off. Ghoul gives him, he respects it. He gives him kind of like a finger salute on his hat, and then he turns to the door. He pushes a button, it opens no problem. But then you hear like more Deathclaws roaring. So Ghoul, he opens the door. He starts going inside. Maximus moves towards the Deathclaw, slices off the fingers on one, and then it does like a roundhouse, whacks him with his tail. He goes flying, busts through like the fence, the gate to the other side of town. He like slides down the road a bit. People are standing about. The Deathclaw like roars at him like at the gate, and he sits up and he's like looks at it. He's like, oh no. Inside the hotel, Ghoul made it like to the elevator. So this is the same hotel. I don't know if I mentioned it. You can tell by the steps. It's the same hotel he was in the past when he was in Vegas. So he made it to the room where he talked to Robert House. You know, because there's like he gets out of the elevator. There's a big stair, like balcony thing that goes. There's stairs that go down both sides, and then there's a big giant computer thing that Robert House was sitting at. And on the big giant screen, it says no signal. So then we get a flashback. He's walking down the street with Barb. There's a car, pulled up. He's like, here we go. And she's like, the only way to save our family is to save the world. That's simple. He's like, that's simple. He gives her a kiss, and he goes towards the car. In the present, he walks down the stairs to the big computer. Lucy, meanwhile, made it to the mainframe door. She's got her dad's Pip-Boy in her hand. Ghoul opens a compartment on the big computer. There's a big red button that's there, and he like pushes it. Lucy stands at the mainframe door. At Robert House's the room office thing, the secret room that he showed him that had the cold fusion thing, that opens up. In the past, we see Cooper get in the car. The Congresswoman is there. Also, the president is there, and the president's Clancy Brown, of course. And Cooper's like, Mr. President. And the president's like, thank you for doing the right thing, son. And Cooper like looks at the Congresswoman, and the president holds out his hand. Cooper reaches in his coat, and the president, Ghoul's holding the diode in his hand. In the car, he hands it over to the president. Lucy opens the mainframe door, and we see, I think what's his name? Wilzig? Something like that. Michael Emerson. His severed, kind of not almost rotting head. It's not that great. It's sitting on the table. There's like a bunch of like wires and stuff like hanging, like not hanging, like attached to it. And there's like a straw hose or something like that in his mouth. I don't know if it's giving him nutrition, but it's like severed. And she's like, "Oh, Dinah." Ghoul puts a diode in a slot. It starts up, and the computer like beeps the console behind him. And you see on the screen, there's like a power level thing. It starts increasing, reaches 100% pretty quickly. And then there's like clacking and static. And then Robert House's face appears. It's like on a green LED screen in there. And he's like, well, hello, old chum. And that's the end of the episode. So what does this mean? So Robert House, did he upload himself in his computer? And does he have access? Can he do stuff like electronically to other things? Because there's got to be like some reason that's a threat, that why this is not a good thing. But yeah, I don't really know what this means. So yeah, we'll have to see. We have one more episode, and then I don't know. So I mean, obviously it's going to be a cliffhanger, but I don't know what the big thing. I mean, we got the cold fusion up and running. So yeah, I don't know, but you can watch that now. I got to watch it as soon as I can. Okay, Hijack, Season 2, Episode 3, Baggage. So we get some answers here, and bad things happen. Things are getting crazy. It starts off, we see this dude working at like the control place. He's for the trains. He's talking on his phone, and he's like, you don't want to miss out on this story. A passenger is dead. He's like, a fudging bomb. He's like, okay, you didn't hear it from me. So this guy's leaking to someone in the press. What does he get out of this? Is it a matter of, oh, the public should know that this is happening? But no, because what you're doing is you're causing people to panic. And it's one thing, yeah, we want to make sure there's not a cover-up, but there are people on this train. There are people like on the streets, and then all of a sudden, if you're telling them there's a bomb or something like that, it's going to be like pandemonium. People are going to get hurt. Oh, and then if you're saying like someone is dead, how many people are going to be wondering like, wait, is that my husband, my wife, my kid? Who's dead? My whoever is on taking the train. I can't get a hold of them. So it just seems so stupid that, I don't get whatever. Then we see like the firefighters arrive at the scene where like the quote unquote explosion was. There's lots of black smoke. So it's at first I was like, wait, I guess a bomb did go off, because I was wondering, did Sam just do something to like glitch out, shut off the cameras and just made some smoke happen? But something is going on. There's people like getting oxygen from ambulances, whatever, because there's like all this smoke and stuff like, floating around. Down by the train, Sam makes his way back. He gets in, he's like coughing. Otto's like, what have you done? And Sam like holds up his finger. He's like, just trust me. And then, he calls on the radio. He's like, I want the network evacuated. Lines cleared. And that train that is blocking me moved. So then Winter, the police chief, she's like, yes, we can do that. And she motions the others to get the train moving. She's like, I need your assurance that no one else will be hurt. He's like, and I want visual confirmation in the next 30 minutes that you have Bailey Brown in Germany. He's like, a photo. I'll give you a number to send it to. And she's like, listen, we've tried to locate him. I cannot guarantee we can find him so fast, Sam. Please. He's like, okay. So you've seen what happens when you fail. You don't want to see what happens when you fail again. You have 30 minutes, all right? Now, you fudging find him. And he stops talking. And then to Otto, he's like, all right, need you to tell the passengers that there's been a small fire on the network and we've had to divert to another line. He's like, come on, now. So Otto coughs, he gets on the radio, he struggles over the idea of someone getting killed, and what was his part in this. And Sam's like, hey, calm down. So on a train, someone translates, when Otto speaks. So it's like, attention, this train has been diverted to U8 following a small fire in the network. This is purely a precautionary measure. Will the passengers in the carriage 1 please vacate and move down the train immediately? So this I'm going to call the other guy Teacher 2. And Teacher 2 is the guy wearing a hat. And Teacher 1 is the one that was mainly dealing with the kid who was scared about or whatever being on the train. So Teacher 2, he tells the kids to grab their bags, one after the other, whatever. This one older lady has a hard time swallowing. And at first I was like, is there going to be something more with this? I don't think we've seen anything. Maybe, I don't know if there'll be something later, but nothing in this episode. Sam watches the other train get moved, and then someone comes up to hello? So it's Cappy. And Sam's like, there he is. So he opens the door. Sam goes to him. Cappy, he's asks what is he doing? And he's like, hey. So yeah, Cappy survived. Did I make that clear? Did I mention that? Cappy's alive. He didn't blow up. And so Sam's like, I need you to listen very carefully. So it's weird. I thought he took the briefcase for him, but maybe he didn't. Was there more than one? Something like that. He takes some for him. He sets, or no. So I guess he finds him. No. I take that. Yeah. So he finds him out at the station. He takes the briefcase from him, sets it down. Yeah. So he leaves it there, and then he brings him onto the train. So I keep calling him Cappy. His name's Freddy, but I'm just gonna keep calling him Cappy because he's wearing a cap, like a knitted cap. He tells Otto to go. Otto's like, you told him half an hour? He's like, yeah, because half an hour is all we've got before they come down here and figure it out. So basically, everyone thinks there was an explosion and that there was someone that was killed. But, surprise, there was no explosion. Not really. There was a bunch of smoke and stuff, and no one died. Cappy is alive. Because why would Sam kill someone, right? That's too extreme. But it's still very extreme that he's doing what he's doing. Okay, so hang on to that thought. So then Winter's like, who is Sam Nielsen? Olivia's like, he's a lawyer based in London, specializing in M&A corporate negotiations. And Faber says that he was on a hijack plane, Kingdom, whatever. And Olivia says that he's been trying to get German police to take him seriously for months. Winter's told by her one other officer dude that GSG-9 are still on hold for orders. So I think that's like the tactical team or whatever. So, what should he tell him? She says to say, just wait for now. And he says that the chancellor's and the mayor's office are waiting for updates. They have 3 million people with no transport system, and panic, is already starting. And the chancellor won't wait. So she lightly slams her hand down and she stands up. She's like, this is now an operational command center. Anyone who doesn't report to me, set up elsewhere. Everyone else out. And she asks Mr. Deal, the control manager dude, for like the map. She wants to see where Sam is, where the train is heading, and nothing else. So he goes down there, he turns the key and starts like turning off the tracks so you can, because it's all like lit up. So there's only like the one that's on. Winter's talking about wanting a direct line to tactical. Olivia looks through Sam's files and she's like, that's today? And Winter's like, what? And Olivia's like, Nelson's son, Kai, was killed in a car accident a year ago today. So that's news to us. So it's like, that's crazy. It's like, okay. And then Olivia's like, he believes Kai was murdered by John Bailey Brown. So it's like, things are starting to make sense now. It's not just that John Bailey Brown was involved with the hijacking of a plane and he feels some need to take him down and stop him. It's like, he thinks he killed his son. So maybe that's why, right? And Winter's like, and now he wants what? Justice? And Olivia's like, or revenge? Out in the countryside, Marcia's still at the cabin. She has like a box of like mementos. She looks at Kai's like baby footprint, his like hospital band and stuff like that. Back at the station, she's like, okay, so this is the man who Sam believes murdered his son. It's dated 25th of July. This is Olivia. She's like, immigration at the port of Hamburg. And Winter's like, and he thinks it's John Bailey Brown? And she nods. It's like, he spent months tracking him. He says that this proves Bailey Brown is in Germany. Winter's like, and now Mr. Nelson is a murderer too? She's like, check Hamburg border records, CCTV. I'm going to speak to him again. So Faber asks if she's going to use the girl. And Winter's like, Clara. Winter's like, unless you have a better idea. He's like, I can help, guide her. Reading men like this is, extremists of all kinds. It's what I do. If we can get under skin, maybe we can end this. So the train's moving. There's another announcement. The station, they pass by it. So they're going to keep going. Sam asks Otto, there's a camera like in the upper corner, like one of those dome cameras. He asks him who has access to that. And Otto's like, no one. It's internal. He's like, you sure? It does go to control? And Otto's like, no. He's like, they can't see us in here? And I was like, no, it just goes to this hard drive. And he's like, where? So there's a hard drive in there, I guess. Clara calls Sam. And then he's like, how we doing, Clara? She's like, I'm sorry, we haven't been able to locate the man you're looking for yet. We're trying. He's like, okay, he will have very powerful people working for him. You need to be asking yourself who that is. Faber writes down delay on a sheet of paper for Clara. She's like, we're looking into the Hamburg CCTV, but we need more time and your assurance that no one else will be hurt. He's like, photo first. And then Faber writes family. So she kind of pauses and then, she's pretty good. I don't know how much training she has or whatever, but then she's like, I know you're a father, Sam. And that kind of catches them off guard. And Otto and Cappy, they can hear this and they're like, oh. So Clara's like, there are families on this train, children. They must be so scared. And then Sam's like, who's there with you? Because he knows that someone's putting her up to this. She kind of looks at Faber and pauses. She's like, we want to understand so we can help. Because I don't think you want to hurt anyone. Not really. He's like, you do not know anything about me, okay? And then Faber writes motive on a sheet of paper. She's like, we know why you want John Bailey Brown. We know what he did to your son. And again, that kind of throws him off. She's like, I'm sorry about Kai. And Sam kind of has to catch his breath. Otto like stares at him like almost like sympathy or something like that. And he's like, whoever's there with you, I want to speak to them now. So she looks at Faber, and then she gets up out of her seat. And so Faber's like, hello, Sam. My name is Peter Faber. I'm with British intelligence. I want to end this without anyone else dying. He's like, okay, Faber, you don't know anything about me or what I'm fudging capable of, okay? It's like, what happened to that passenger? It can happen to someone else if I do not get exactly what I need. So Faber looks back at Winter and Olivia, and in a train, Otto and Cappy just sit silently. At the station street level where the quote-unquote explosion happened, the police want to go down, but the firefighter is saying that they don't have the fire under control, so they can't go down there yet. Then one's like, what about the robot? They have like a little robot thing in a van. So the detective dude that we've seen, he enters Sam's hotel room. There's a guy like with a mask and doing forensic dusting or prints or whatever, so he excuses him. He like opens drawer, taps Sam's phone, sees his lock screen and like all the unread notifications, whatever. His passport's there, and there's like some other thing there. It's like, I don't know what it was, like maybe a little hard drive, or was it just a wallet, or I don't know, couldn't tell what it was. And the news is on TV, like they've heard from an anonymous source that there's been a fatality following an explosion at the station. At control, Winter's like, great, so now we have a leak. So her guy says that if the passengers find out, it might force Nelson's hand. Olivia says it's all over social media. Faber says to her, it's like, you said it's all about control. What did you mean? And Winter's like, the stuff in his file, or no. Olivia's like, the stuff in his file, every detail is meticulous. He spent a year putting it together. Faber's like, he's a clever man, a patient man, and he kills an innocent passenger randomly within an hour? No way back? Does that strike you as odd? So yeah, I mean, it seems out of character. Winter's like, he's angry and desperate. And Faber's like, but he didn't flinch. We all saw that. He showed absolute self-mastery. Killing someone for the first time, it exacts a price. I've seen it. Not for him. Winter asks her guys, like, where are they on Bailey Brown? Dude says that they have the Hamburg entry list, and there's nothing that's flagging an alias or a counterfeit. So they're waiting for the footage, and he doubts that they're going to find anything conclusive. On a train, Teacher 2 bumps into like Cappy's bike. He's like, whose is this? This lady says that he went into carriage. She's like, Freddie, I think. That's his name. So he's gone to check on the driver. That annoying lady, I forgot her name, the one that knew Sam was trying to get a job from him. She says that Sam went up to the English guy. Then I think it was Rebecca, the student, the annoying student, whatever, busybody. She's looking on her phone, and she's like, there's been an incident on the U-Bahn. And the teacher's like, wait, what'd you say? And Rebecca says that there's been a bomb threat on U8. And he's like, well, that's not us. And then he's like, well, it is now since we diverted. And teacher one's like, it was like, what if we're the incident? Then we see this lady, like, I think it was like in a court lobby maybe or something like that. She asks this other guy, like, you hear about the train hijacking in Berlin? So I don't know who they were, who this lady was and who she's talking to. Did she know him or just happened to sit next to her? And maybe I'm oblivious, I'm supposed to know? I don't know. Sam sees someone's coming up to the conductor car. He's like, what now? So he opens the door. He looks at the driver and Cappy. He's like, not a fudging word, okay? So it's Teacher 2. At first, I didn't recognize him because he took his cap off, and you can like see his hair. It's like, oh, he's kind of blonde or whatever. He asks if everything's all right with the train. Passengers are getting a little worried, and Sam says everything's under control. The driver asks for his help, and so the teacher's like, oh, okay. And he's like, it's just that there's some stuff on the news about a terror alert. And Sam's like, really? He's like, I haven't heard anything about that. Cappy kind of like peeks back. He doesn't get seen. And Sam's like, I would just get back to your seat, yeah? And Cappy and Otto kind of look at each other. Teacher 2 tries like looking in the driver's car, like over Sam's shoulder. He's like, all right. He starts to go back, then he yells up in German, asking if everything's all right up there. And Sam's like, I just told you. And teacher's like, I'm just checking. Otto finally replies in German. He's like, all is good, thank you. And then Sam's like, all right. So he goes back. He tells Teacher 1 that something's up with the train. And then what's her name, the annoying lady? She's like, is Sam okay? And Teacher 2 says that he doesn't know, but something weird is going on. At the explosion station, the police slowly are working on getting the robot out of the van. It has like treads or whatever, this little like Wall-E type thing, but smaller. An officer's talking to Otto's coworker. I think maybe she's like in an ambulance and asked if she heard an explosion, and she said she's not sure, that she just couldn't hear anymore. The tactical guy says that they're halfway out of station when it detonated, and she says that it's all like a bit of a blur. Winter's told that they're sending in a robot now, and she's like, well, that won't help find Bailey Brown. Olivia comes up and says that she spoke to a contact in the Justice Department. The reason there's no record of John Bailey Brown is that no one at all entered the port of Hamburg between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. on the 25th of July. And she's like, I'm going to say that is unlikely. Winter says someone deleted it. Olivia's like, the data was accessed from an IP address outside of Winter's organization, traced to Schwabisch Strauss. And I think that there's something like that. Winter recognizes that, and she looks at Faber. He's like out in the hall on the phone. So they go out to him. You hear whoever he's talking to, he's like, I'll call you back. So the Winter's like, it was you who deleted the records from Hamburg. And then he like kind of looks at Olivia. He's like, this is above her clearance. But Winter doesn't care. She's like, Schwabisch, whatever, Strauss is the location of a very unremarkable building loaned by the German government to the British for deniable operations, shall we say? That's why you're here in Germany, isn't it? MI5 have John Bailey Brown, and you're protecting him. Why? And he's like, I don't think you grasp the situation. Winter's like, a man is dead, and we're about to become a global news story because of you. Give me what I need right now, or I will brief the media that British intelligence have Bailey Brown and are gambling with the lives of innocent civilians. So Sam radios, there's a few minutes left, Clara. Have you got me what I need? And she looks back. The other cop dude like motions her, like kind of rolls his fingers like, to stall. She's like, I'm sorry, Sam. We're still working on it. Faber calls some guy named Lang. He's like, they know we've got him. And the guy's like, how? And he's like, lock him down. Take a photo. Find out who the fudge talked. And he's like, okay, chief. The detective dude goes to a house. There's like armed dudes inside. The guy's like, okay, so MI5 has come to see how German intelligence handles things. The detective's like, where is he? And so he was in the bathroom, and he comes into the living room. He sees the detective standing there. He looks at him. He's like, what? Clara calls the train. Sam, you're right. John Bailey Brown is here in Berlin. He's like, send a photo to the number I gave you. As soon as I receive that, we can talk about ending this. So he takes a container of something. I don't know if it was water or like some drink. He offers some to Cappy. He drinks it. He's like, oh, it's really terrible. So maybe it was like a protein thing. I don't know. And Sam's like, well, it's a beer and a double cheeseburger for you then after this, once this is over. And Cappy's like, I'm plant-based. And Sam's like, you might even make it to your very important meeting. And Cappy's like, I'm a sustainability consultant. He's like, but it's BS, really. Greenwashing for rich companies. Sam's like, once I get this photo, you'll be able to do what you want. So Otto takes out this phone, said he received something. So Sam opens the text, whatever. There's a photo of Bailey Brown that they just took. So Otto's like, you got it? He's like, yeah. So Cappy and Otto are both relieved. And Clara's like, is that it, Sam? That's what you wanted? Yes? He's like, yes, thank you, Clara. And he looks at the phone and he like breathes. Fabers sits next to Olivia. He's like, so Nelson contacted you directly at the embassy with the CCTV stills? She's like, yeah. He's like, you're new to all this. Let me guess. No one there takes you seriously. They foist all the oddballs and eccentrics off you. And she's like, tell me why you have Bailey Brown. Why isn't he in prison yet? And Faber's like, we've been working with German intelligence to bring him in. He's a known flight risk, so we had to keep it under wraps. We're going to extradite him to the UK, where he will go to prison. Just need to get my ducks in a row first. And she's like, right. He's like, anyway, Nelson's giving you a rather more interesting day than you could ever imagine. And, well, you'll appreciate the irony. Sam and I, we both want the same thing. Bailey Brown to be brought to justice for what he did. At the countryside, an SUV drives down a road. The lady who brought the flowers to Marcia and her husband, who's like walking around with a shotgun, he's a hunter or whatever, they're like kind of like in the off the side of the road, like in the trees, and they see the car go by. Then they give each other a look. So it's like, I feel like there's something to this couple. Like, are they there At first, I thought they were there against Marsha, but maybe they're there to protect her. But who would have her? I don't know. But it feels like there's something up with them. The car stops and turns off the lights. The driver dude on his phone, he's like, I'm in position. He's like, I got eyes on her now. And he can see inside Marsha's cabin. So this isn't good. The station explosion site, the street part, the robot goes down. Police are watching the cameras. They see something. It rolls up to the briefcase. One's like, where's the smoke coming from? On a train, Cappy talks about wanting to open a bike shop or a juice bar. He's like, oh, maybe I'll do both, a juice bar and a bike shop owner. Clara radios, okay, Sam, you have the photo. What now? He starts to respond while looking at, staring at the photo because this is the guy that killed his son. But then he sees someone's writing a text. So he gets a photo of Marsha through the window. Clara's like, Sam? And they also texted like, good, now get him on the train. So he's like, thinks, and then he starts talking. Now I need John Bailey Brown brought to me. Winter and Fab are kind of like surprised, and he's like, or what happened to Freddie, Cappy? Will happen to someone else. But obviously he can't really pull this bluff because they're going to go be down there any second, or they're going to figure out like what's going on. The robot's down there. And then I think it's Winter. She's like, that won't be necessary because I have a better offer. So Sam like curses himself. And she's like, I will have John Bailey Brown brought to the public prosecutor's office today. And Faber's kind of like, what? She holds up her hand to him. It's like, in full view of the media, he will face justice, true justice for what he did. I swear this to you, for your son. That's what you want, isn't it? He's like, but it's not what I asked for. Now bring him to me. And Cappy's like, this is a good outcome. Isn't this guy, did he really kill your son? It's like, you can say that it's you crazy and they'll go easy on you. And Sam's like, you don't understand. And Cappy's like, take what she's offering. And Sam's like, you think this is me? That if I want to let you go, I could, but I can't because this isn't me doing this. And Otto's like a little surprised. And then Sam shows a photo to Cappy. He's like, it's the mother of my son, okay? And he's like, these people, they want the police to believe it's all you? He's like, that's why they chose today, the anniversary. These people killed my son, and now they're going to kill his mother. Marsha goes out to get some wood for the stove. The couple, the couple in the woods or whatever, they go out up to the dude in the car. The dude with shotguns, he's like, you all right in there, pal? And she's like, you lost or something? And he's like, no, just enjoying the scenery. And then he rolls his window back up. They like stare for a bit, and then they like walk away. Police check the station. They look in a briefcase. One says the fire brigade are saying that it started in the bin, and they look in the camera room. They note that all the cameras were turned off, and Winter's like, sure, she's told that there weren't any bombs, and she says to Faber, he faked it all. So she's like, you can go ahead and say I told you so. So she's told that the units are in position at the next station. And she's like, if he really is bluffing, it's time to take back control. Marsha's chopping wood, or she's trying to. The lady and her husband walk up and they ask her how it's going. Marsha's like, if there's something that I'm missing, to get it done. And the lady's like, yeah, it's called a chainsaw because she can't chop the wood. And then they say that the lady's like, you didn't order a cab, did you? And Marsha's like, no, why? And so the lady's like, well, I wondered. There's a bloke down the lane, and Marsha, she's kind of like surprised. She's like, what bloke? And the lady's like, some twat in the black SUV, too clean to be locals, probably nothing. So they like walk off, and Marsha hurries into the house. She like shuts and locks the doors, closes the curtains, and then she like sees the flowers and she thinks about that. Winter is told by the detective dude that they found a burner phone in the bomb maker's apartment. The last number called was Sam Nelson's. She says that it was arson at the station. The whole thing looks like a hoax. The detective's like, no, it can't be. And Winter says that the briefcase the hostage carried had no bomb. The detective's like, listen to me, there is a bomb. Because, he saw that the whole apartment had like all that stuff. He's like, if it wasn't in the briefcase, then it's somewhere else. Faber tells Winter that this is her chance to end this, and she says that she's not sending in a marksman, if there's another bomb. Faber says, like, not a marksman. He's like, let me speak to him face to face. He's like, I want to end this without anyone dying. So, let an old spy use his trade or whatever. And then he's like, he's worked with killers for 30 years. Sam Nelson's not one of them. On a train, Otto's like 35 minutes. And Sam's like, what? Otto's like, he said that it would be 30 minutes before they realized that they were bluffing. He's like, it's been 35. Sam looks at his watch. Cappy's like, well, how do they know if they figured it out? Then the power to the train stops. And the passengers start to panic. Sam's like, there's your answer. So the train stops like in the middle of a tunnel. Sam radios, like what's going on. And, he's told it's a fail-safe. It's automatic because of the fire spreading. He's like, listen to me. If this train is not moving very, very soon, I will hold you responsible for escalating this. And they're like, all your demands will be met. We just need a little time to fix the power. Otto explains how, they've cut all the power to the Wi-Fi and everything. So he's like, the only thing, and then he gets up and Sam starts like, what are you doing? Otto says like, it's okay. It's like, there's just a switch for emergency power. So some of the lights go back on and Rebecca mentions her friend that her Wi-Fi isn't back on. Sam asks if there's any way they can turn the power back on themselves. And Otto's like, no, it's centralized. Then he asks if there's anything that they can use, like a real bomb or weapon. And Sam's like, they're not going to arm a guy they're trying to set up. And he's like, so they gave you nothing? He's like, this is a game of poker. You don't have to have the best hand to win. Just have the best bluff. And Cappy's like, what if they call this bluff? What then? Do I have to die for real? Sam just like stares at him. Detective dude asks a worker, where are the trains kept overnight? And he's like, oh, the lost and found is over there. And the detective takes out his badge. He's like, I'm looking for a bomb. So they go and look on the tracks, and apparently there's like one train missing. And the detective notices, like, he's like, is that snow? But then he like takes out a match. He like lights it. So I don't know if it's like magnesium or something, because it like just starts sparking. On the train, passengers are getting restless. The panic's one student, he mentions that he thinks it's a bomb or something like that. Meanwhile, Sam and Otto, he takes Otto out to make sure the tunnels are safe. Cappy's like, well, what about me? Sam says that they haven't blocked them like they did the last time, so just stay there a little longer. He's like, and Cappy's like, it'll be over soon, right? And Sam's like, I'm not going to hurt you or anyone on this train. I just need you to trust me. If you can do that, I'll make sure everyone gets home safe. He should have had Cappy come with him. Outside, Otto asks if he's checking if they blocked him again, and Sam's like, no. It's like on a train, they have eyes on them somehow, so he doesn't know how, but they're listening to them. And with the power off and in dark, he thinks that he can end this. Sam says that they have landlines, right? And Otto's like, yes, like every 500 meters. So Sam says to go to one and get the British police on the line, tell them Marcia Smith Nelson is in danger. And Otto asks if that's his kid's mother. And Sam's like, yes. He's like, if they get Marcia to safety, then everyone else goes home. His hands, he starts handing the flashlight to Otto, but then it drops. So Sam like bends down to pick it up, and he sees something like under the train. So he goes to take a look. Clara is like starting to call on the radio. Cappy's like, he's sitting in the conductor car and the radio is going off. So he starts like moving towards it. Sam curses. There's like two big containers, like jugs or whatever. And there's like a timer. I think it said like 12:34. So I don't know if that means it's going to go off in 12 minutes or whatever. But it's like some sort of liquid bomb, I'm assuming. So he's like, they told me Marcia would die if I failed. And Otto's like, it's all of us too. Some passengers want to try to like pry open the doors and get off. The annoying lady's like, oh, it's dangerous. But, I think she tries stopping him and they like push her or something like that. Sam looks at the bomb. He starts running. So Sam has to chase him. Clara's so like, Sam, Otto, someone, what's going on? Sam is like, tries reasoning with Otto. He's like, all those people on the train are your passengers. You just got to keep going. Otto's like how? By killing Freddie? He's like, they're not paying me enough for that. He's like, hey, listen, no one is dying today. Marcia goes out back and grabs an axe. Clara is still calling. Cappy, I think he's like, hello? And she tells him to hit this like some green button or whatever. And I think it turned on the camera in there. Marcia walks up to the SUV. She swings the axe at the windshield. She just swings it, and the guy's like starts freaking. She like tries hitting the side mirror and then the side of the car. But it's weird because she doesn't even pay attention because the guy opens the door, gets out, and he tackles her. So she doesn't even like, she could have turned to hold the axe up and he might hesitate. So he tackles her and then she kicks him as she's trying to get away, like in a gut. So he's like, oh, but he has the axe now. And then she's like, just do it. Fudging kill me. I don't care. And he's like, this will go a lot easier if you just listen to me. And she's like, who sent you? So that's the thing. I don't know. The annoying lady goes up front because this other kind of sketch-looking guy, he went up, so she like followed him. And then when she's up there, she's like, what's going on? And she walks up to the train car. She looks inside, and she screams. Sam grabs Otto because they hear the scream. They run back. They enter the driver car, and she asks Sam, she's like, why did you do it? And he's like, go back to your seat. And he closes the door. And then we see Freddy, Cappy, is dead. And Sam's like upset because he feels like he's to blame. Faber went to the explosion station. He goes down with an officer. They go on the tracks. Winter's told the Faber and the agents are moving towards the train. It's just like I forgot how far, like a few hundred something feet. She hopes this is the right decision. Olivia asks what will happen to Sam, and Winter says that her primary concern is the 200 passengers on a train. Faber tells the agents to hang back. Then he uses a megaphone to call out to Sam. He says he wants to settle this. He knows that he's not a killer, and Sam looks at like the blood on the floor. Then Faber sees something on a platform, so agents go to check it out, and they're like, it's a passenger with the briefcase. And they're like, is he alive? And they're like, negative. So it's like, and this is part I wasn't really sure, did Sam and Otto take Cappy out and put him on a platform? It's like, why would they do that? Then Clara gets a call. He's like, Clara, I warned you what would happen if you escalate things. At first, I'm like, is this a recording? Did they fake this? Whatever? Or is he really saying this right now? And so Winter jumps on the phone, and she said she would like to end this now. And Sam's like, if only it was that easy. The train is rigged with explosive. Turn the power back on and let me pass, or you'll have a lot more dead hands. Or you'll have a lot more than one dead body on your hands. So the teacher asks the annoying lady like what happened, and she's like in shock, and then the train power turns on. Cappy's body is like dragged away from the edge of the platform. Faber like sits, and agent says that their orders are to stand down. Faber like watches the train go by, and he doesn't really look for Sam, but Sam is kind of looking out, sort of. Everyone on the train sees Cappy's body, and Rebecca, what's she doing? She's filming on her phone, of course. And then I think the guy that killed him, he like hides his bloody hand in his coat, and then the train moves, and you see the bombs underneath. And that's the third episode. So the interesting thing, because at first I was like, this is kind of crazy that Sam would go to such extreme measures. Yes, he wants to get the guy to kill his son or whatever, but to arrange all this, it's like this is too much. But now it looks like he's being forced into this, which sucks. So I'm digging the show. So that's third episode of Hijack. All right, Wonder Man, season 1, episode 2. Self-tape. This is an interesting show. I'm never really sure what to expect. So I've only watched 2 episodes so far, and even though all the episodes are released, are out, I'm enjoying the story to see where this is going to go. It doesn't so far doesn't really have like a true Marvel feel or vibe to it. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I mean, it's nice to mix things up because I feel like with how vast the Marvel universe is, things shouldn't always be the same. And that's one of the problems with like when we have, Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. Great, right? Everything's super cool. All the space stuff, even even when we kind of look at Thor Love and, was it Thor Love and Thunder, where they go to the, no, Ragnarok, was it Love and Thunder? Ragnarok? No, Ragnarok, right? It's been a while. But when we see like Thor out, on another planet with the Collector, that was, you know what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Thor and Hulk, all that. It kind of still had a Guardian. It had like a James Gunn Guardians space vibe to it, and that just seems kind of weird. But if you're talking space, everything should be different. And when we're on Earth, not everything should have the same feel. So that might be an extreme example, but I feel like it's good to mix things up. Now, where things get a little interesting, we're getting more into kind of like the nitty gritty of civilian life, which is something that we haven't seen. So maybe that's why it feels a little different. We're so used to just diving into the superhero stuff, and yeah, if you want to consider Spider-Man, even though it's Sony, it is kind of Marvel, but we don't really get a lot of human, like regular stuff. We saw Peter and Aunt May and all that, but here so far we're just seeing Simon and just going through the tasks of auditioning for a movie, and no high stakes aside from trying to get the gig, but there's nothing about end of the world or some sort of invasion or anything like that. We do get a hint of what is the deal with Simon, and if you saw the trailer, there's something with that. So now it's like, okay, what does all this mean? And I hate to admit it, while I'm intrigued with what's going on, I'm debating whether the show is benefiting or does benefit from having all the episodes released. Because I think for me, I don't know if the average person, they might not, it's a slow burn. I think that's what we're going to see. So if this was releasing one per week, I don't know if some people would like that, because it seems like some people want more boom, boom, boom. I mean, that's why people like binging. They want it right away. And because there's not a whole lot of heavy action that you would expect. So, but we are, developing some stuff, and I'm enjoying that. So I don't mind that the way I'm watching it because of time and working and teaching and all that. I can't do more than one episode, so I'm enjoying it. All right, so it starts off. We see Trevor is on a plane. This is a slight flashback. He's talking to this lady next to him, and he's like, "I was 10 when the acting bug first bit." And he shows her so like ratty some photos like that. It's like, "My first audience was my dear old mom, Dorothy. So I had to keep her spirits up. It was the least I could do after all she gave me." And this lady's like, It's like, "You can see how much she loves you." He's like, "Oh, she was a saint, a true saint. She always believed in me, believed in my acting. I'd never have made it without her." And then the lady's like, "Wait, were you in a hospital show?" He's like, "South Shore Hospital, yes, the first 3 episodes." She like gasped saucily. She's like, "Yes, with Joe Pantoliano." She's like, "I love him." And he's like, "Yeah, people do, yeah." So the plane lands. He continues talking to the woman as they walk through like the airport. And he's like, "Yes, it's true. I've had some low points, some bits I'd rather forget." And he kind of chuckles. He's like, "But all of that's behind me now. 13 years sober, back in Hollywood, ready to make my mom proud." It's like, she always said my acting could be important, vital, and I'm going to prove her right. She's like, "That's wonderful. Your mother would be so happy for you." Bam! He gets tackled from behind by 2 FBI agents. "Stay down!" As like the woman screams, and there's like 3 other. That might have been loud. 3 other like FBI agents, whatever, like standing there pointing guns at him. There's like police kind of like holding people back. "Trevor Slattery, you're under arrest." And he's like, "I'm not resisting." And then the dude looks at the woman. She's like, "We're not together." So then they played Trevor's tape as a Mandarin. "Some people call me a terrorist. I consider myself a teacher. America, ready for another lesson? 39 hours ago, the Ali al-Salam air base in Kuwait was attacked. I did that. the agent stops the tape. He's like on a laptop. He's like, pretty scary stuff. And he's like, it's called acting. And he like chuckles. The agent presses play. There's a guy lying on the ground. Trevor, as the Mandarin's like, I'm going to shoot him in the head live on your television. And then we don't see it, but then you hear, poof, and Trevor kind of winces. The agent closes the laptop. He's like, acting? And Trevor's like, they're squibs, blanks. And he's like, you sure about that? And he's like, why are we going through all this again? I had my trial. I went to jail. And the guy's like, and never finished your sentence. He's like, not my fault. And the agent's like, no one cares. And it was at this point, this is when I realized the agent's name is Cleary, because the closed caption mentions Cleary. I thought it was saying clearly, like he was speaking clearly. I'm like, okay. So this is Agent Cleary. He's we're going to be seeing more of him. So Cleary is like, the way I see this, you have two options. Option one is that you go back to prison and finish your sentence. I like that option. And then you have option two, which is you do a little work for the Department of Damage Control. He's like, option two, thanks. So the Department of Damage Control wants him to work for him. He's like, okay. He slides a photo on the table. He's like, this is Simon Williams. So it's like his headshot. He's like, you're an actor. Do you think you can get close to him? And Trevor's like, I would need some bait. An audition could work. And the guy's like, shouldn't be hard to set up a fake one. And he's like, no, he'd see through it. He's a working actor with an agent. This is a small town. He'll know what's real. You need to find out what projects are coming up. Something juicy. Something Simon Williams would be particularly excited about. So then Simon's at his apartment, present day. He's doing like push-ups. He's brushing his teeth. His phone rings. Janelle's calling. How in the hell did Ruth Bakshi call me about your audition for Wonder Man? And he's like, yeah, see, that's kind of a funny thing. And she's like, no, it's actually not funny. I'm so mad, I don't even want to hear it. And Simon's like, I'm sorry, Janelle. He's like, I had to. It's just, it's something about this role. I feel like it feels like the one, like it was made for me. You know what I mean? And she's like, actually, I don't. And then Simon's like, she loved me, didn't she? And she's like, Simon, stop. She loved me. She said something about you showing promise, maybe. He's like, I knew it. She's like, yeah, but she's also realistic, like me. She's putting you up for an opportunity that you actually have a real shot at. It's a self-tape for an indie feature, The Carlisle. Get it to me as soon as you can. You better deliver for Ruth. You want her on your side. And Simon's like, because she tight with Von Kovac? And Janelle's like, because she's a great casting director. He's like, no. He's like, I got you. And she's like, do you? Do you got me? Bye. She hangs up. So then he like jumps on his bed, kicks his feet up or whatever. So then he's like looking over the lines on his laptop, prints them out, reads through them, records himself like doing the other lines so he can like read his lines with himself. He films himself, watches it, and he like groans in frustrations. He looks at like an old video on his phone, like of his ex helping him, and then he tosses his phone like on the table or whatever, and he starts like breathing deeply. And his leg is like fidgety. He closes his eyes, he like breathes, clenches his fist. There's like low rumbling again, because I think that happened, I think it was like the last episode when he was brushing his teeth. I was like, why is there a low rumbling? Is it from him? Or is there like a train nearby? Like what's going on? So there's low rumbling, and then the whole room starts shaking, and the wall starts like cracking. His eyes like glimmer red for a second. And then we see like a shot from outside his apartment, and then whoosh! There's like a big whoosh of energy, and then you hear like a car alarm go off in it somewhere. So then Cleary's like, did you notice any sign of visible enhancement? And he's like sitting in a booth with Trevor at a diner. He's like what exactly? And Cleary's like, I don't know, like subtle glow maybe? And Trevor's like, no, he was not glowing. And Cleary's like, I said subtle. He's like, look, Trevor, the Department of Damage Control considers Simon Williams an extraordinary threat, and I just need some proof, and I need it fast. And I think we've wasted enough time trying to search for this perfect audition. Trevor's like, it was worth it. And Cleary's like, I think we could have gone with Megan 3.0. And Trevor's like, that's why you hired me. And then Trevor's phone chimes. He's like, oh, wait, look at that. Simon Williams needs help with an audition. He wants me to come over. And Cleary's like, you see, my friend, this is great news. So Cleary opens up this little like metal case, and he takes out a ring. And there's a couple other things. There's like a Zippo, a necklace, a pen, some cufflinks, a couple like big keys, and there's like a money clip with some bills. So he puts a ring on a table, and you can see it's like kind of glowing inside. There's like electronic circuits or something like that. He's like, I want you to wear this. When you enter his place, find his computer and place this right on top, and I'll handle the rest remotely. He's like, got it. He puts the ring on, and then Clary's like, oh, why aren't you texting him back? And Trevor's like, I wouldn't want him to think I'm just sitting around all day waiting for someone to text me. He like scoffs. And Claire's like, okay. And then they just kind of sit there. So they sit there. And then they're like staring at each other. So Clary wants them to text back now. So then finally Clary's like, I think we've waited long enough, maybe. And Trevor's like, I'll handle the role of Trevor Slattery, if you don't mind. Okay, I put my book down. I have crossed the room. I've reached my phone. And Clary just like rubs his face with his hands. He's just like, come on. And then he's like, intriguing. When were you thinking? He's right there. He's like, Simon texts back right away. He's like, now. And Trevor's like, he's thinking now. And Clary's like, oh, is he? Then Trevor types, that might be tricky. I would have to move some things around, but there might be a chance I could manage. And Clary's like, just say see you in 20. And Trevor's like, I would never text a sentence fragment. And he finished off the text. Meeting is set. And Claire's like, great. So then he's like, how far that little candle throws his beams, so shines a good deed in a naughty world. And Claire's like, yeah. And he's like, Shakespeare. And he's like, right. Merchant of Venice. He's like, sure. And Trevor starts to leave. He's like, don't mess this up, Trevor. So Trevor reaches the gate at Simon's apartment. He rings the buzzer. And Simon's like, says, I'll be right down. And Trevor's like, wait. And he like hesitates. Aren't I coming up? Then he is waiting outside the gate. Finally, Simon comes down with like a duffel bag. He's like, thanks for coming. Let's go shoot this thing. And Trevor's like, aren't we using your apartment? He's like, nah, it's just got bad energy. He's like, look, I just went through a breakup, so it's kind of hard to focus in there. It's like, I got to be centered for this. It's got to be good. And Trevor's like, okay. So where do we go? And Simon's like, there's a self-tape studio not far from here. And Trevor's like, and what, pray tell, is a self-tape studio? So they drive up to this like 2-story like strip mall. And Simon's like, they sprang up over the last few years. You rent the room by the minute. It helps since almost everything these days is a self-tape. And Trevor's like, it's tragic how the industry's changed. And his phone vibrates. He's like, oh, sorry, I've got to take this. So Simon's like, I'll sign us up. And he goes inside. Trevor's like, I couldn't get into his apartment. And Clary's like, how did you already screw this up? And inside, the lady tells Simon that editing, upload are included, no hidden fees. She can fit him in right now. So Clary's on the phone. He's like, okay, fine. Just stay close and keep an eye out for anything suspicious. And Trevor's like, I think I can handle that. Simon pops out, says, they're up. He's like, so it's an indie feature in the vein of Igby Goes Down or The Only Living Boy in New York. He's like, and I play a waiter who the man-boy protagonist has an unexpected emotional connection with. He's like, sounds rich and textured. He's like, this could be good for you. And he's like, right. So I'm thinking, and he closes his eyes, the waiter character is 3rd generation from the Bronx. His father always wanted to own his own restaurant. He was a great cook, and he took Corey to the Carlisle when he was a little boy for tea once. So he's always had this emotional attachment to it. And this is like what I kind of find annoying about Simon's character. I mean, I get what he's doing. He's connecting to the character, he's bringing it to life, but he also kind of makes assumptions against what the writer, director, whoever may want. And, this is why he got fired from his last gig doing, the American Horror Story, whatever. And, I don't know if people normally do stuff like that, but it's like, yeah, so whatever. Trevor's like, not sure how you'll convey all this would you like to charge it to your room? Then the lady at the desk, she's running the camera and she like jumps in. She's like, may I see the slides or something? She wants to look at the script basically. She's like, I'd like to prepare before we start. And Simon's like, no, sorry, the two of us, we can handle it. That's why we came together. And she's like, well, you should have read the waiver you signed because it stipulates that I would read all off-camera lines. So then Simon's like, would you like to charge it to your room? And Trevor waits. And then the lady jumps in. She's like, oh, sorry, is that me? And Trevor's like, yes, Marcy, indeed it is. And she's like, okay, let's start again. And she like restarts the camera. And, she's like, pick up the pace. Simon exhales, the camera beeps, and she signals. And he's like, would you like to charge it to your room? And Trevor gives him like a thumbs up. And she's like, how is it that? And she's like, is it that? That sounds weird. And Simon's like, I think we're good. Thank you, Marcy. She's like, is it that? That sounds weird, right? And Simon's like, thank you. And he takes the pages from her. And Simon's like, thank you, Marcy. So then they go to the Tal Maj Hotel. And Simon's like, how do you still have a place in LA after all these years? He's like, bought it with the South Shore Hospital money. So they take the elevator up inside. He's like, make yourself at home. There's lots of shelves with books. And Simon's like, wow, this place is crazy. And Trevor like chuckles. He's like, sure beats the old dungeon. Simon picks up a script, like sitting on a end table. Turtle Diary, directed by John Irving. And it says March 20th, 1985. And I think Ben Kingsley actually was in that. Then Trevor's like, you've seen Turtle Diary? And Simon's like, of course. It's like, you and Glenda Jackson free a couple of sea turtles from the London Zoo, but you really free yourselves along the way. And Trevor's like, yeah. How am I just realizing that now? So he didn't like get the whole point. Then Simon sees some like VHS recorded tapes like on a shelf. He's like, Coronation Street. He's like, you played Ron Jenkins, right? And Trevor's like, well done. So Trevor, he does a line like his character, whatever. Then there's like a shelf with a skull, and Trevor's like, oh, careful with that. It's like, there's a tradition in theater of heading down your prop to the next generation. This particular skull has had quite the journey. It was used by David Garrick when he played Hamlet. He gave it to Keene, who passed it to Irving, who passed it to Burton, who left it in a bar, and I nicked it. Simon like snorts. And then Simon sees a framed photo of like Trevor and his mom when he was a kid. Trevor says, it's his mother Dorothy. She was a nurse. Like, she always believed I'd make a great performer one day, have a positive impact on the world. And then some loud music starts playing from the neighboring apartment. And then he's like, Max Factor's grandson used to live in that apartment. Now we've got this. It's like, when I ask him to stop, he just plays it louder. And he's like, shall we get to work? Next to the frame, there's like his Mandarin sunglasses, I think. So they sit in the living room. Simon says loudly, would you like to charge it to the room? And then Trevor's like, how is it that no matter who I bring in here, and he's like, that should be whom, by the way, whom I bring in here, boy or girl, my mother or that odd poetry teacher I'm close with, you never judge. And Simon's like, who says? And Trevor's like, who says what? And Simon's like, that I don't judge. Maybe I'm just good at hiding it. The music stops. And Trevor's like, he stopped. Let's set up. And he's like, before we record, I had a thought. I think the key to this role is finding what's not being said. Think about what you're doing between your lines. That's where the character, and then the loud music resumes. He's like, oh, bloody hell. So they leave the apartment. Simon's like, it's never been this hard to do a tape in my life. Ruth Bakshi is never going to work with me again. And Simon's like, Ruth Bakshi? He's like, yeah. He's like, casting director on Wonder Man? And Simon's like, yes. It's like, you better not mess this up. And Simon's like, I know. And then Trevor's like, we could shoot it on the street or in your car. And Simon's like, what? It's like, no, it's too weird. It's a waiter scene. And Trevor's like, you have any friends that we could ask? And Simon's like, no. Because Trevor's like, you've been out here for how long now? He's like, 8 years. 8 years? You don't have any friends? And he like chuckles. And Simon's like, what about you? You've been here decades. It's like, where are all your friends? And Trevor's like, used to have plenty, like sighs. He's like, oh, there is someone I could ask. So they drive. Trevor says that, they were both in South Shore Hospital together. He's like, I played the lead. Somehow, he managed to get in under the showrunner's ear, had my character killed off, walked away with the lead role, and the People's Choice Award for Most Promising Newcomer. And Simon's like, damn, that's cold. So Trevor's like, he owes me. So we see this like older, like bald guy answers the door with a smile, and he sees Trevor, and he chuckles. He's like, I can't freaking believe it. Oh, get in here. So Trevor's like, Simon, Joe Pantoliano. Joe Pantoliano, Simon Williams. So he's playing himself, obviously. And he's like, everybody calls me Joey Pants. And Simon's like, yeah, of course. He's like, it's a pleasure. You know, I never eat a steak without thinking about you in the Matrix. And he compliments him some more or whatever. And Joey Pants is like, I like this guy. And then Simon's like, wow. He's like, you've done well for yourself, man. It's like, that's a lot of marble. He's like, yeah, well, my wife, she designed a place. Art Linklater gave me some advice. It's not enough to make a living. You got to make a killing. So I got into real estate early on, bought in Venice way before Arnold, made a disgusting amount of money, just disgusting. He's like, so you guys hungry? My chef would be happy to make you something. And Trevor's like, well, we're not really here to socialize. We're on a tight schedule. He's like, oh, come on, Trev. It's like, Nestor's the best. I just stole him from McConaughey. So they go on the table. There's like food already out. And he's like, oh, thanks, Nestor, whatever. He's like, oh, my favorite. It's like, we got some duck prosciutto. He's like, some something, I think he said roasted peppers from his garden. And he's like, and we just flew into Moz from Hoboken. The Moz, M-O-Z-Z. I don't know if he means mozzarella. He's calling it Moz. Did people do that? He's like, you can't audition on an empty stomach. He's like, here, sit down. Trevor just like, he's staring out at like the beach, the water, whatever. And Joey Pants, he's like, you know, people don't appreciate all the work that goes into the audition process. He's like, I'm offer only, so it's hard for me to relate. And he goes over by Trevor. He's like, man, I'm so glad all that Mandarin business is behind you. And Simon's phone buzzes. He gets a text from Janelle. He's like, call me now. So Joe's like, I mean, the performance was good, but... And he sighs. He's like, I was worried about you, man. He's like, that was some dark poop. Simon goes in the bathroom. Janelle's being driven around like a movie lot, like in a little car thing. And she asks Simon, where the hell is this damn audition? He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm at Joe Pantoliano's house right now. He chuckles. He just offered me Maz from Hoboken. It's like he's got a tree in the foyer, because he showed him before. He's like opened his shutter things to let some light in. He's like, I'm just trying to be polite. I was like, I'm in here code switching and everything. It's like, I don't give a damn if you're having sloppy joes with Sarah Paulson. You need to hurry the hell up. He's like, no, that's why I'm here, to do the tape. He's like, I'm just trying to stroke the man ego a little bit. He's like, let me play this. And she's like, just put your face saying the lines on a tape and get it to me. And he's like, okay. And she's like, okay, all right. And don't do what you always do, Simon, okay? It's like, I know you're already overthinking and doing that BS. Just be normal, okay? Can you play that, normal, man? The breakdown is, go method. And she ends the call. And you see like a Baby's Day out poster like in the bathroom on the wall. So Joey Pants says, he's like, you know, I don't think we've crossed swords since we wrapped South Shore Hospital. And Trevor's like, sounds about right. He's like, well, I miss you, Dr. Jack. He like scoffs. And he's like, what's that supposed to mean? And Joey's like, Dr. Jack Kronk. He was your character. And Trevor's like, oh, right. Lovely. Before you stole the lead from me. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, I'm surprised you'd bring that up, Joe Pantoliano, right to my face. And he's like, Trevor, you were high, out of your mind. You weren't showing up to set. And when you did, you were screaming, white worms were coming out of your skin. You told me you couldn't handle the pressure of being the lead. The showrunner had to rewrite to work around you until finally the network had enough and killed you off. He's like, can we please just tape this audition already? And then he like walks out of the room. Simon's just been sitting there watching the exchange from the table. So then Joey Pants takes him into another room. He's like, so let's shoot this gentleman, shall we? Simon looks at a bunch of like awards on shelf. He's like, that's quite a career. He's like, well, yeah. He decides, he's like, I've been lucky. Hell, if I was British, they would have knighted me by now. He's like, can I give you some free advice? It's like, Louis B. Mayer, he had a saying, the most important thing about acting is the sincerity. Once you learn to fake that, you've got it made. And he like chuckles. He's like, no, look, show business, it's crazy. It's built on a foundation of insanity. So success is the collateral you use to build something real for yourself. Remember this, acting, it's just a job. And Trevor like gives him a look like, what? He's like, I mean, yeah, it's a great way to make a buck. It's better than any other job out there. But the minute you try to get something else out of it, fame, validation, getting even with your parents, whatever, you're screwed. It's like you keep digging that hole and you'll never get out. It's like, I gotta say, Trev, oh, I envy you. To finally be done with it all must be nice, huh? Not have to worry about your weight or your appearance. I mean, You can ignore the stupid trades. And Simon's like, actually, he's not done with acting. And Joey's like, really? He's like, he just had a huge audition for a lead role in an Ivan Kovac movie. And Trevor's kind of like standing tall now with his hands on his hip. And Joey Pants is like, well, holy spit, that's terrific. Then Simon kind of like bangs like his roll-up script against chair. He's like, don't pretend to be happy for him, Joe Pantoliano. He's like, what? He's like, you think you're actually being nice, but you're actually being condescending as poop. He's like, you know that? He's like, that speech was the dumbest, most patronizing thing I've ever heard. And Simon's like, amen. And he's like, fellas. He's like, you suck, Joe Pantoliano. He's like, he's like, Baby's Day Out is garbage. He's like, even that dumb baby couldn't make you funny. And then they kind of stare at each other. And Simon finally like, nods. He's like, let's get the hell out of here, man. And he like sighs. And Joe's like, he's like, come on, guys. And Trevor like pops his head back in. He's like, acting isn't a job. It's a calling. It's the single most consequential thing anyone could ever do with their lives. And they leave, and Joe just stands there. And he takes out his phone and calls someone. He's like, Barry. He's like, what's this I'm hearing about a new Von Kovac movie? And why am I not meeting on it? So then they're back in the car. They drive some more. And Simon's like, can you believe that guy? Trevor's just like silent. He's like, you okay? He's like, sorry, that didn't quite work out. He's like, it's all right, man. He's like, I know a place we can go. So they go back to his apartment. He's like, as they're walking, he's like, just ignore the mess, okay? So they enter. He's like, I've been thinking about what you said earlier about how the key to the scene is finding what's not being said. And all this time I've been assuming the line, maybe I'm just good at hiding it, was like a general rebuff, telling the kid to watch himself. And he's like, right. He's like, but I'm wondering if the waiter's actually feeling some type of connection. Like maybe it's an invitation. You know, maybe I'm just good at hiding it. You know, you can trust me with your secrets. Feel free to tell me, more, that kind of thing. And Trevor's like, it might be worth a shot. And he's like, yeah. So he set up the phone to record. Simon breathes. He begins. Trevor kind of like really gets into it, like honest with it. And Simon's like, he's like speaking directly to him. And he's like, who says I don't judge? He's like, maybe I'm just good at hiding it. And then he gives like the pauses at the right place, has the right tone and everything. So it really like kind of makes it feel real. So then they play it back at the table. They're watching on his laptop. And then they pause it, and Simon's like, do I send it? And he's like, you'd be crazy not to. He's like, you think it's good? Trevor's like, it's transcendent. And he's like, cool. And they like both smile. He sends it. He's like, I gotta pee. So Simon gets up, and then Trevor, he looks at the ring on his finger, takes it off, sets it on the corner of the laptop. The screen like glitches out as it's like working, whatever. And Simon calls out, he's like, hey, should I order a pizza? And Trevor gets up and like walks, because there's like a big sheet hanging on the wall behind the sofa. And Simon's like, you like pepperoni? And Trevor looks behind the sheet and he like pulls it down. And he stares as Simon walks back in the room. And Trevor like turns and looks at him. The screen is still like glitching out. We can see that, but Simon doesn't see it because he's behind. And then there's like a big, almost like a blast mark on the wall. It's almost like a big hole, like through like a couple layers of the plaster. And there's some cracks that go up to the ceiling. And they just like stare at each other. And Simon like looks at the wall. Trevor turns and looks. And then he looks back at Simon. He's like, yeah, pepperoni. And Simon chuckles. He's like, no doubt. He's like, I'll call it in. And Trevor goes to the laptop, picks up the ring, and he looks back at the wall. That's the end. So Trevor is pretty sure there's some sort of sign. There's no guarantee that has anything to do with anything, but he's like, And it was like an awkward, it's like, what is Simon thinking? Because obviously we have to assume he knows he has some sort of powers, right? And he's like trying to hide it. And so it's like, is he like, uh-oh, Trevor knows, or is he just like, And the other question is like, how did he get his powers? What powers does he have? I saw some people run like, oh, maybe he's a mutant, because we have Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel. She's supposed to be a mutant now, but it's like we don't really have anyone else that are mutants. So what does this mean? So that's the second episode. So like not a lot of. It's weird because it's character development And I'm intrigued with the story, even though like nothing happens. Just trying to make this self tape, but yeah, I dug it. All right, now to movie feature, The Strangers, Chapter 3. As I said in the beginning, I enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed all three. And yes, I am a Madeline Petch fan, but I like the franchise. I take that back. I like the first movie. I thought the first movie was good. It's terrorizing. It's horrible. I mean, I can't imagine, being in the middle of the woods, middle of nowhere, being so far away from home, and then some people just like knocking on a door. And it's like, even though it's like, oh, the door is locked, that's not going to necessarily stop someone. They can bust a window or whatever. It's like, what is going on? And the whole thing was like, is Tamara home? And it's like, who the heck is Tamara? And in the first chapter we see that again. Second one, we kind of find out who Tamara is. And it's like, wait, okay, because we see like the flashback when we see the little girl and boy, like, are they brother? Actually, I don't even remember if they're brothers. I think they are. Were they brothers? Brother and sister? I think I don't remember now. But so it's cool. We see that, and yeah, I get why people didn't like the second movie so much. But what I really feel is that people are looking at these movies as separate entities. And yeah, in some extent you should. You're going to see the first movie. You're going to see the second. You're going to see the third. So it is a little weird, the pacing and all that. But at the same time, this is kind of like a 4.5-hour movie, basically. So if you think about that, the second movie, that's where you get like the backstory and the story is developing. Things are starting to make sense, fall into place. The other main important thing, and I mentioned this also at the beginning, is these movies take place, I think it's like 4 or 5 days. And that is crazy because there's some stuff that happens. So we got Maya, so Madeline Petch's character, and some of the stuff I was like, wait, what is she doing? But this is what I was kind of getting at in the beginning, and I just want to really emphasize this point where the thing is, in the first movie, she was being terrorized. Her and her fiance, they're in the middle of nowhere, small town, everyone's acting weird. There's these masked people that are trying to kill them. And then at the end, they're like tied up in chairs and they're about to be killed. She managed to survive, her fiance didn't. And I think we're a little desensitized or whatever, because so many times we watch horror movies or any suspense movies, someone dies, it's like, oh yeah, they're sad, they're angry, whatever, and then it continues. But I don't know if we really stop and think about that. Like, imagine your loved, I don't want you to imagine this, but just the idea that someone and in this case, someone that you absolutely love, the person you love more than anything, is gone, is killed. That is it. It's not like they went to a baseball game and they'll be back in an hour, or he went on a trip or anything like that. It's like they're dead, and there is no coming back from that. And that is like that. It's devastating. It's so much. If you, be thankful if you haven't lost a loved one. If you have, you kind of know what I'm talking about. You kind of move on eventually, but every once in a while you're hit with the idea of like, this person is no longer here. They won't ever get to see another sunrise. They'll never get to do this. They'll never get whatever. And so I think that right there, just I don't know. I would kind of be interested to hear from like a psychiatric expert, like, what are your thoughts? What are their thoughts on this movie? Is it just like pure hokum? Is it hokey, or is there something more to it? And I don't know if people really think about that. They'll complain. I feel like so many people are so quick to complain about stuff, and I don't think you really think about it. It's like, okay, what is she going through? She's being chased and hit and beaten and cut, stabbed. She's trying to survive, but her fiance is also dead. And she is in the middle of this town. How the heck is she going to get out of there? What is going on? So I feel like this is just this huge thing. And you got these 3 masked, crazed killer that are relentless. They will not give up. They keep coming after her. So I don't know if people really stop and think about that. They're just, there was a CG wild boar in the second movie that looked fake or whatever. And yeah, that was maybe a bit much, and it was kind of weird, but there's reasons for that, whatever. I think when you look at it like that's a big deal. And then the other fact, I don't know if I mentioned this now, but that we get the backstory on the killers. Because in the first and second movie, that was the main thing. Why are these people doing this? It's like, okay, they're putting on these masks, they're going after these people, and they're just like sadistic. They just want to kill them. And yeah, unfortunately, that's what's maybe some people do, serial killers or whatever. But the fact that we are given the time to explore that, because we have the luxury of the time, because it's over 3 movies, so we really get to see more like where they're coming from and why they're doing so. Why did they knock on a door? Because at the beginning of this movie we get a flashback, 2021 or something like that, where someone is killed, and it's like, why are they doing this? Why? We find out a little more. Is the reason for it satisfactory? I mean, you're getting into the mind of a killer, crazy killer. So it's like, you may not get all the answers you want, but we do get to find out more that's what's happening. If you've seen the trailer, there's a point. It's like, why is Maya wearing a mask? Why is she standing side by side with them? And part of what it is, which I don't want to get too deep into like spoilers or anything like that, but they're kind of interested in her because she survived, and they're trying to. I feel like it's almost like it's like a cult, and they're trying to bring her in, which is crazy because why would she ever want to be part of that when they killed, they destroyed her world? But at the same time, maybe. If you think about it, and this is what was going in my mind, is because I was like, why is she just like calmly sitting there? And yeah, it might be hard for her to escape. She's got a bad leg because it was friggin' bitten by a boar, and she's been stabbed, and she like did her own stitches, and then she was found, and more stitches were horribly done on her. So she's like in rough shape. And she probably realizes, okay, I can't run anywhere. They have all these, big axe or knives or whatever. I have nothing. So where am I going to run to? They're just going to find me. I don't have a way out of here. So she's just almost like calmly with them. But then there's a part where they go to a hotel, and they're trying to like force her to like do the knocking. They're trying to make her do this. And then there's a couple there, and I don't want to get too deep. Again, I'm bored, kind of spoiling things, but they're trying to get her to choose like who's going to die first, and she doesn't want to do it. So at first it's like, wait, why would she just give into this? But it's kind of like she doesn't have a choice, and it's also like she's just in shock, with everything that's going on, because more stuff happens. So I feel like the movie is kind of deep, but it's not deep. And I know, so if me saying deep, some people will be like, you're crazy. It is not deep at all. But there's just, and yeah, there are a couple things that I'm like, I don't feel like maybe that was the best decision or whatever. But overall, I would say, I enjoyed this. And when it gets towards the end, I'm like, what is happening here? And you look at some of the characters, that's the other thing I like, when all the people in the diner. You're like, what's up with the waitress at the main waitress? Is there something her? What's up with the sheriff? What's up with the deputy? It's like, who can be trusted? Who can't be? And the other waitresses, and it's just like everything's like everyone's so like suspicious or not suspicious, but they look suspicious. And just seeing all this, it's and there's like when Nurse Danica and her roommates, like, what's up with the roommates? They find 2 guys walking down the street. And like in the second movie, because I rewatched the second one. I didn't rewatch the first one because I've seen the first one a couple times, and I feel like the first story is pretty straightforward with what's going on. The second, like, we really started like, wait, who's this? Who's this? What's going on? But like the roommate, like 2 dudes walking down the road because they apparently were drinking at a bar and they left the keys inside and the door, the bar closed. And then one dude. His name is Gregory. It's like, what is this dude's problem? He's like all in her face and everything. He's like such a jerk. He drinks, and he's like always drunk. He's just like so angry, and it's just like, what is your problem, dude? And Yeah, and then it's just crazy. So I really enjoyed the movie. No, it's not like the best movie of the year or anything like that, but I just like what they did, and I think it's just kind of neat the fact that we got this 3-part story, because it doesn't happen very often. It's kind of like Kill Bill 1 and 2, where it's the whole thing. They talked about I can't see this happening. They talked about like showing all 3 movies back to back, and like with an intermission. How many people are going to want to see like a 4.5-hour movie? I mean, I would, but I definitely would go and see all 3 in a theater, like consistently, like back to back like that. But I have a feeling that with the low Rotten Tomato score, so let's see, let's go there, because how long have I been talking about this? I could go on, but I won't. Rotten Tomato, it is at right now an 18%, and that's probably going to change. If you look at some of these reviews, the 2008 original will probably endure as a solid sleepover-ready example of American ordeal cinema, but this final chapter, like its immediate predecessors, falls somewhere. Okay, keeps going. It stretches material that wouldn't overfill 90 minutes to 4.5 hours, arriving at no worthwhile destination and conveying scant excitement and route. It aims low and it still bunts. That was Variety. Bloody disgusting. This misfire instead leaves you repeating the original film's question, why are you doing this to us? Flickering Myth, 1.5. Thankfully, the journey is over for now, and we can become strangers to this failed series, erasing it from our minds. See, I don't know, am I crazy? Am I like the only one that likes this movie? But why, though? A geek community. 7 out of 10. Strangers Chapter 3 suffers from, once again, feeling like a piece of a bigger movie, because it is. Sure. What's the difference this time around is it's plenty compelling on its own, even in its fragmented form. Fandom Wire, 4 out of 10. This trilogy will be remembered as a bloated misfire. But then, like the viewers, 2.5, Tom B., lots of backstories, some of which led to confusion in storytelling. I was a fan of the original, but then it goes on. Okay, 3rd chapter is totally wasted the time of any moviegoer who went through the first 2 chapters. That doesn't even make sense. It wasn't bad, just seemed to drag out a little. It's like an hour and a half long. Probably my least favorite of the 3. See, I saw some people. Here's one. Compared to the other 2 entries, the series, this is the only one that didn't have me check my phone every 5 minutes. Strangers Through is decent. Definitely watch the first 2 to really understand the story. Exactly. Goes by pretty quick, I say. So that was a 3.5. Here's a 4. They did a nice job closing out the story from chapter 2. They had lots of flashbacks to fill in some gaps. Overall, did a good something. So there you go. It just depends on. See, I go to movies for enjoyment. I'm not going to overanalyze every little thing. And is this art? Is this whatever? I thought it was disturbing, and I may be in a minority, and I'm fine with that. Is that questioning my credibility? Maybe it is, but I like what I like, and hopefully you can hear where I'm coming from, and you have an open mind. But I just feel like so many people are just so quick to shoot something down, and I just feel like there's more to think about, and maybe you shouldn't have to think so much. I mean, maybe it should be more obvious, but the problem is you're talking about 3 separate movies, 3 different parts of one big story. So there you go. That is my thoughts. I enjoyed it. I don't know if you will. If you didn't enjoy the first 2, maybe you won't, but I thought it was good. I'm excited. I liked it. I wish more people did. And I hope you like this episode. Thank you for listening. So big thanks to Andrew Loken. He is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones here or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30 minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. I hope I said all that right, because I was totally on automatic. I've been doing DC Comics, Silver Age, weird and wacky comics. I'll probably do that for maybe a couple more weeks at least. We have off of mine coming up at some point. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck and buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 3. And that is ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. What is going to happen next week? So next week, obviously, we're going to have the season finale of Fallout season 2. Wow, it's can't believe it's over already. And again, thank you so much. If anyone at Amazon or whatever is listening, I so appreciate the fact that they did it week by week, because you know why. I'm not going to go into that. I just feel like when they're all out there, it's like I should be doing it. Like with Wonder Man, I'm feeling bad already that all the episodes are out and I've only done 2 so far. But whatever, that's how it's going to be. So we'll have another Wonder Man, the 3rd episode. We'll have the next episode of Hijack, the season finale of Fallout comics, and the movie feature. So a little up in the air. We got a choice. I think I know what I'm going to go for. There is Crime 101. So this is with, who is in this movie? This is with Mark Ruffalo, Barry Keoghan, Nick Nolte, Chris Hemsworth, Halle Berry, Corey Hawkins, Tate Donovan, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Monica Barbaro. So set against the sun-bleached grit of Los Angeles, Crime 101 weaves a tale of an elusive jewel thief, Chris Hemsworth, whose string of heists along the 101 freeway have mystified police. When he eyes the score of a lifetime, his path crosses that of a disillusioned insurance broker, Halle Berry, I can't get her name right, who is facing her own crossroads. Convinced he has found a pattern, a relentless detective, Mark Ruffalo, is closing in, raising the stakes even higher. As the heist approaches, the line between hunter and hunted begins to blur, and all 3 are faced with life-defining choices and the realization that there can be no turning back. Adapted from Don Winslow's acclaimed novella of the same name, the film is written and directed by Bart Layton, American Animals Imposter, and then all those other people. So, it sounds good and everything like that, but I'm not super duper excited. Oh, I gotta see it. I mean, you got so many good actors in there, so yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's I don't even know if it to me, it's not screaming like big, even though I love seeing movies in theaters, it doesn't scream like big theater movie. I don't know. I could be, maybe I'm crazy. So I don't think I'm going to go with that. If there was, what's going to happen next week? Let's do that. Okay, so we have that on the 20th. I mean, there's a possibility the next episode I'll be at, because there's How to Make a Killing. I don't know if I'd see that. I can only imagine, what? I only imagine something. Oh, I know what that is. It's with the Skarsgård, one of the Skarsgård. Psycho Killer. I think I wanted to see Psycho Killer. Psycho Killer is Georgina Campbell. If my theater gets Psycho Killer, I will see that, or it will be Crime 101 next time. This time, what I think we're going to get is Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. One, it's okay. It's a weird, bizarre title, so that tells you right there. Are they trying to be edgy and weird with the title? Maybe, and it's kind of working. So this is starring Sam Rockwell, Zazie Beetz, Juno Temple, Haley Lou Richardson, Michael Pena, Asim Chandri, and Tom Taylor. And the synopsis: a quote-unquote man from the future arrives at a diner in Los Angeles where he must recruit the precise combination of disgruntled patrons to join him on a one-night quest to save the world from the terminal threat of a rogue artificial intelligence. So and the trailer seems crazy. It seems bizarre, and that's what I want. So I think I'm going to go with that. Crime 101 just looks like bite a book, and I'll be curious to see what the Rotten Tomatoes scores are on these two. But I feel like I'm going to go with Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. I mean, I probably will, because I'm probably going to buy my ticket soon. So there you go. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you're doing well. I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl if you watched it. I hope you're taking care of yourself. And I hope you remember, be good to each other.